that if you can't find me, you may never wanna find me again. Cause people don't understand. People don't understand. People like me.
Okay, look, before we get started today, I need to get a couple things off my chest because let's go ahead and just get the cat talk out of the way right out. So, hey guys, welcome to episode 20 of the Barroom Podcast. You guys have watched us now for 20 episodes, and we're back here. As you see here, we're having a little bit of a cat dilemma here. Now, let's all just start this off by blaming Nerdigans for this, because Nerdigans has pretty much made her cat the feature of the show for the last few weeks, and because her cat is so cute and cuddly, it inspired Cassie to get her own cat. So now we have both girls on the show that are I'm really trying not to make that a pun, but let's just say they're just playing with their cats here during the show. So let's go ahead and get the cat portion out of the way.
You know we've all been thinking it.
Yeah.
Oh my god, terrible. He ran away. He's just like, nah, this is too much attention.
Well, no, my cat's the opposite. He's an attention whore.
Yes, we could tell. He eats it up.
All right, then. Well, enough of that for now. How you guys doing tonight? It is Tuesday night. We are back here for another episode of the Barroom Podcast. You know, I'm glad that you guys have joined us. You're not watching the Padres playing in their first NLCS game in 24 years. You have much better things to do than to watch us. So we're glad you guys are here. Dozing Z is here. I'm here for Scorched Earth. Boys and girls. Oh, yeah. Well, there's going to be a lot of heated discussion about some of our topics here tonight. That's for certain. Duke Nukem, very entertained by the pussy talk here tonight on the show. Cold Classic Cage, of course. And then our good buddy Neo is also joining us. And let's go ahead and invite another good buddy of ours, C.S. Johnson, who I'm assuming can hear us right now, right? Of course not. So we'll let her get situated here in a second.
Okay, I can hear you now. It's fine.
All right, and then Alex versus Evil, who's also joining us from last night's stream. How you doing tonight? So, how's everyone feeling? Is everyone in a good mood? Are you in a positive mood at the moment?
No, I'm not.
Okay, then that's about right. Housing market's about to collapse. Hey, it's a buyer's opportunity, though. So, I mean, you can always look at it that way. Get a good time to get in now before BlackRock buys everything and makes everyone renters. So, outside of that, yeah, we got a lot of stuff to talk about today. A lot of interesting debates and topics that are definitely going to get us heated. I say we should start off this show hot and go straight for it. Let's talk about Amouranth here for a second. Now, if you guys hadn't heard this story, this is something that I guess went viral towards the end of last week, and it just kind of snowballed into there. But essentially, Amouranth, who you guys, I'm pretty sure have heard of her by now. She's one of like Twitch's top streamers, if not the top streamer on Twitch at the moment. She did a stream right before the weekend where she did a call with, I assume, her husband, and she alleges that her husband has been abusing her and has been allegedly forcing her to do all of these streams for all of these platforms and is taking all of her money. So let's get into this little can of worms here. Amouranth, who you know, who does this type of content on Twitch. She has a Twitch, she has a YouTube, she has OnlyFans, which we'll get to here in a second, and a whole bunch of other outlets that she makes a whole lot of money off of, because, you know, there are just that many desperate simps out there. And Cassie, I'm pretty sure you know a couple of them, at least from memory, when we're talking about simps. But I guess her real name is like, yeah, exactly, the ones that can't afford it. Her real name is Caitlin Saragusa. Made damning claims that her streaming career. This was October 15th. So yeah, this is about 3 days ago that this happened. But yeah, she's a Twitch streamer who's known for, you know, maximizing her sex pill, her fake boobs, her butt, and all that good stuff. And during the course of her stream that she had a few days ago, she claimed that she was in an abusive marriage, that her husband, which I'm assuming his name is Nick Lee, because that's the name of her husband, Nick Lee, is basically forcing her to do these streams, that he's commanding her finances. Now, for what I've gathered, she was complaining more that she didn't have access to her money. Now, keep in mind, this is all alleged stuff, and I'm going to tell you why I believe most of this is alleged here. But she did a little stream. This is a screenshot of the stream here where she's crying and she's on the phone with her, and I guess she even alleged at one point that her husband was trying to threaten to kill her dogs or something like that. It's just a very, very odd circumstance of events here. The original stream got taken down. Amouranth says that I've been wanting to tell people to stream together, let them aware that we're married because our relationship will be so much better instead of fighting all the time. She says that Mr. Don't say that or I'll ruin your business model. It's not time yet. Fuck yourself. I'm done with it. I'm not going to fuck you anymore, you piece of shit. You tell me that you want me to tell them I'm single. It's about to be a true piece of shit. Go fuck yourself, small dick anyway. This is all kinds of things that she posted on her own stream, by the way, which she has like thousands of people on Twitch. So I know a few of us have platforms on Twitch. Do you think how hard it is to actually build a solid following on that platform? And then here's a person who probably has like 20,000 people going over her alleged drama during her life. So she put out a whole bunch of like text messages. There's videos about this online. Lee apparently allegedly threatened to have claimed almost three-fourths of $1 million as punishment for not calling him back. Spread across smaller amounts, demanding within several minutes to call, even seconds. Other alleged threats is that if there's no call in 1 minute, I'm gonna make sure that her house goes to the meat packing or something like that. There were some tweets about like swatting. Basically she's having like a domestic dispute on her Twitch stream. So this led to the entirety of, I guess you can call it shill media sites doing all of these, emotional, oh my god, I can't believe this is happening, Amouranth type post on the internet. There's a whole lot of coverage from other Twitch girls who does similar work that she does that were coming out and defending her. Here's the problem with this whole situation, and Orange Chat's going to elaborate on it a little bit more here, but this is the big problem. Amouranth has a long history of being completely untrustworthy with everything that she says that comes out of her mouth. She's lied about allegations in the past with certain streamers. She's tried to label certain streamers as extremists and sexist and other kinds of things. She's got into it with plenty of people you guys may have known on the internet. And then here's the other thing with her is that when you have someone whose entire life is essentially publicity, right? So you're dealing with someone who is 24/7 will be on Twitch. This is a girl who's streams hours at a time on some form of social media. As a matter of fact, right now she's on Twitch and she has about 22,000 viewers and she's been streaming for about 7 hours. This is days after her big emotional outburst about how this man is like ruining her life and things of that nature. Maybe it's the pro wrestling fan in me. Maybe I'm just too jaded by 20 plus years of watching fake wrestling, but everything just kind of smells like a work to me when I really think about it. And when I look at this situation, I see a girl who's trying to gain sympathy from people who are her pay piggies, as I like to call it, people who will go out there and give her hundreds to thousands to millions of dollars, because this girl is a multi-millionaire based on all these platforms, and gain more sympathy for her so she can get more money. And then, of course, she's going to use that money and spend it on her husband when they quote unquote reconcile, because they're already in the process of doing that right now. The update on this story is now apparently she has access to her finances again, so now she's happy. Now she can just go back and just stream the way that she was doing before, and we're supposed to believe that all this stuff is on the up and up. So I know Pete has something he wants to say about this, but I want to start with Orange Hat because I know Orange Hat did a little bit of a deeper digging into this one than we expected. So go ahead and take the floor here.
Yeah, so for this stream, I decided to do a little bit more digging into Amouranth and the OnlyFans thing. So I actually created an account for OnlyFans just to check to see what kind of stuff she does and to see how much she makes. And I just tallied for over the last 4 days of her, because each day she's actually currently available now on OnlyFans, so that means she's checking her OnlyFans right now and whatnot. And I just did a tally on how much she does with her fundraising posts, because most of her posts are fundraising stuff. From now back as far to October 14th, $34,577.37 just from those posts. She also sends DMs to people, asking for tips to see her content and exclusive content and yada yada. So not only that, so now tally that with, say, Twitch earnings. You know that you got a bunch of people tossing money to her way on Twitch. This girl in 4 days, folks, has earned anywhere between $40,000 to $60,000, and a lot of it is very sexual stuff. And she's claiming that her husband is controlling her finances. Well, if that is true, then that's something to take to court. Also, she's saying that her husband is forcing her to do these things and whatnot. And people are saying, well, this and that. She doesn't look like she's being forced on OnlyFans with what she does there. I'm just saying I can read people very well by their actions and whatnot. There's a wise saying, mind what people do, not always what they say, for deeds will betray a lie. And what I just saw on just looking at her OnlyFans content, she does not look like she's being forced to do this stuff. She's claiming she's being forced to do this. It doesn't look like that. And believe me, I'm closing down this OnlyFans account as soon as I'm done the stream tonight, because
keep this in mind too. This is a person who is very much on the side of sex work is real work when anyone exposes like any of her connections with porn and OnlyFans and that stuff. So she says sex work is real work when she's defending that side of her business. Then she'll also turn around and say, by the way, my husband is pimping me out and stealing my money. So it's like, which side is it? Because you can't exactly choose both. And I don't really see this being like some kind of like eureka moment of, you know what, maybe I should change my life or change some of the things that I'm doing here. Essentially, there was probably just some dispute about money internally that she decided to use to her advantage. And now she's just going to go back to doing the exact same thing that she was doing before. Yeah, I mean, this is kind of just the story that we have here. I know Nerdigans just showed us a screenshot of the text that she had sent, because the ones I guess she was alleging was from her husband actually had the name like Sherry, and then somebody said that, oh, that Sherry is her mother, which doesn't make any sense to me about why her mother would be sending texts like that. So, I mean, there's a lot of red flags here with a story like this. I know you guys have any feelings about the whole Amouranth situation that we're dealing with here?
Another thing I do want to say before, sorry, folks, if this does turn out to be a false flag thing, this is actually something that would be more personal to me, because I've been Me Too'd with a false allegation. So yeah, I kind of know the territory, and this does kind of give off that vibe.
Mm. Yeah. And like I said, but there's the other thing too. It's like, who knows if this whole thing is just drama that they built up to get into it together anyway. Because all she has to say is, like I said, they'll raise up thousands of dollars in sympathy money. They could say, oh, he's going to go get treatment to get better. The next thing you know, they just reconcile, and they're going to take that money and go spend it anyway. So. I said there's a number of outlets. Now, let's play devil's advocate here. Could she be just some poor girl who's a victim of this kind of OnlyFans, like social media culture that we're living in now today? Maybe. I mean, let's just put it this way. As far as like the porn industry goes, who does the porn industry always love to feed off of when it comes to like new stars? Completely broken people, right? So she can just be this completely broken girl who, you know, is caught up in this world of fame and porn and all this other stuff. And maybe there is a little bit more of a heart there that I'm getting at. Maybe I'm being just a little too cold to her. On the other flip side, maybe she's just completely taking advantage of this whole thing to get more money out of the sim. So I can see it going anyway at this point. What is your guys' thoughts here?
I'm leaning more towards the latter, to be honest, because from what I've seen, I don't know Amouranth very well. I don't watch her shit. I just see stuff from The Sims. What I noticed from the comments, though, is that they've all known that she was married. She's let it slip that she's been married, like, through the past 4 years. So this is not anything new. but like the Simps that didn't know were like flipping out, and I was just like, if this was a well-known secret.
Well, on that note,
kind of like very sus.
on that note, if she's doing hardcore porn, who do you think is in the video? Like, did that not flip to anyone's mind during that whole discussion? Like, this whole thing is like, oh my god, she's married. It's like I just kind of assumed that people knew that, but apparently there's some people that didn't. That's kind of even more sad when you think about it. So, go ahead, Pete.
Okay, thank you. I will take devil's advocate and say it is within the realms of possibility that she really does have a terrible husband and that she is being abused. That it's also possible that that is happening and she has those feelings at the very same time. You know, she does her normal thing and manipulates people to get money. Those things don't have to be exclusive to one another. Many people can engage in nasty behavior and still totally believe it. It's impossible to know, like you said, it's impossible to know what's real or what's not. I would just say that I've known a lot of people who seem very competent on the outside and seem very together. And they're like, this person is so smart. They would never do something as stupid as to, you know, get involved with someone who has like, you know, a list of mental health issues and a long history of all kinds of problems that long. It does happen. People can be very stupid. I'm not a huge Amouranth expert. It's, you know, when Amouranth started getting big was just about the time I was like, I'm not really into Twitch so much anymore. So I'm not the best person on this. But yeah, you were mentioning, I'll end with this. You mentioning about how some of her supporters are getting mad. That included, maybe it was Nerdigans that shared this in your messaging group. It was one of the top moderators for her social media, and he was the one that was like really upset. And that is kind of crazy to me because it's like, so you almost work with this person, and you kind of know what the play is here, and you're like, but that she does. It's not really. I mean, she wouldn't play me. Oh.
Yeah, it's like did this person think that he had a chance somehow, like in his mind, like I'm her top moderator, so maybe one day that we can get married and have like I just don't understand the mindset. Like these people are just broken. Like I just don't get it.
Without knowing, sorry, Cassie, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, like, it came out years ago that she had a husband, and it was a big deal back then because like all the simps were just freaking out and shit. Like, oh my god, she has like that was something that made big news like years ago. I remember. It's like weird how it's still a thing. People are still discovering that she's married.
They're still falling for the grift. Yeah.
I don't know anything about this person. I don't know anything about like the Twitch other than the reputation that, you know, like girls get away with a lot for money, and it's basically borderline, you know, porn, which is, you know, whatever. Like I'm
borderline prostitution.
I'm not judging, but it's like when I don't think it's good to be cynical in real life. However, I think it's healthy to have a skepticism and be cynical anytime you're dealing with internet people, anytime you're dealing with the media, anytime you're dealing with Hollywood. You know, these things where this fabricated reality serves somebody in a financial capacity. So this whole situation just really stinks to me. Not to mention that I just love trolling people who like self-seriously defend people like this online. Like I'm not even knowing anything about it, just trolling people being simps was great today. So I enjoyed that.
Johnson, you're usually the voice of reason when it comes to stuff like this. So what do you think of this whole situation?
I think this is a tragedy on many levels. So first of all, like as a wife, like you have to tell people that you're married for this kind of stuff, and you shouldn't be selling your body over the internet. You know, like it's kind of like just, you know, disgusting and ew, gross. Get some dignity. And I mean, like this kind of stuff has been going on for. I mean, like lots of YouTubers do drama stuff like this to get the views and stuff, and I get it, but it's also like 10 years down the road, what are you really doing for yourself, you know? So
yeah,
I think this kind of stuff should be like a lesson to all of our daughters. This is not something that you should do, you know? you should honor your husband. I mean, that's part of like the whole marriage thing is that you love, honor, and obey your husband. I mean, I know that's probably written out at this point.
Yeah.
But it's still like women have to have respect for their husbands if the relationship is going to work. And I mean, like, I don't know if the relationship is working. I'm very much in agreement with Peter, where it's like, I don't know if it's all a ploy or if it's real or, but I'm willing
Don't
to bet it's somewhere in the
scratch.
middle.
Oh, shit.
I'm willing to bet it's somewhere in the middle. So, but this is not something that social media should be deciding whether it's real or not.
Yeah.
This is the kind of stuff that is like, this is really pathetic. And
Generally, just real quick, generally,
yeah.
I would agree with you. But like I said, this is a woman who, like I said, she's the one who put all this stuff out there, and this is a woman who pretty much lives her entire life in front of a camera as well. So, I mean, you can't, like, you're the one who put all of this stuff out here in the first place, and then like, there's a lot of people online right now talking about how dare you not, how dare you question her motives and things like that. It's like you can't put the stuff out there and then try to complain about people's reaction to the stuff that you're putting out there. Like, this is like something that leaked that people are just speculating on. It's like you were on live on Twitch when you did all this.
Not only
Yeah.
that, but she's a public figure. First off, folks,
Yeah.
scrutiny is a part of their life. You're going to get that kind of criticism. And the thing is, you opened yourself to the public. That's what's going to happen. For her or anyone to complain about her being criticized by the public, maybe she shouldn't have become such a public figure. Just saying.
I mean, like
Well,
I said,
there are
maybe,
other ways of making money. So get a job, like a real one. So.
Yeah.
Well, like
She's
the
pretty-
thing is, no, go ahead, Pete. My bad.
I was just gonna add, she's pretty dang wealthy. I think routinely on all the simps in gaming journalism, when they do write about her, they point out like she owns like, for example, a chain of gas stations, and she has all these kind of weird businesses. So I think even if she did get caught off from the streaming thing, which I think at one point there was that kind of worry from Twitch, but that's back when Twitch had a little bit of integrity, and that was a long time ago now, at least in internet time. So I think if she did get cut off, she'd probably be fine. Or she's like Orange Hat was saying, she's already on OnlyFans. I mean, there are plenty of places that will take her, and there's no end of sad places that will set you up so you can make some very lonely men very happy. But
we're talking about a woman here who definitely has made at least 7 figures over the last couple of years. So, I mean, if you don't have enough money to just like, you just walk away tomorrow, just be done with it and not be comfortable. Like, maybe that's more money managing issues, but then again, that would also require a little bit of accountability as well, right?
Yeah.
I really wish
What
people
happens
would-
if that went to divorce? Like this, maybe that's kind of the part where the logic breaks. It's like, this guy has like a really good thing going here. Like he is really, really dumb if he's going ahead with this, because how do you think that divorce proceeding is going to go? Do you think he's going to end up with much?
Yeah, that's
no.
my thing with this whole situation. It's like, if you are being abused, you have all the power in your favor of separating yourself from this man. Like, courts tend to side with women in a lot of like domestic dispute situations, and let's not lie, she has an immense amount of money. Like, she could literally destroy this dude with the amount of money that she does have and that she makes. Like, if there's a serious issue and she's unhappy, I mean, wouldn't be that hard to walk away. I find it very hard to believe Amouranth is the type of person that believes in, once you're married, that's it. Like, you have to be completely dedicated to that marriage, no matter how bad it is. I mean, given her choice career, I don't really think that that's her standard of marital affairs. So the fact that she did this, it kind of feels like it could be a stunt. I don't want to, really jump to that conclusion, but because at the end of the day, you just never know.
Yeah.
But I mean, you never know. It could be a stunt. It could be legit, but it's hard for me to believe that she's the type of person that wouldn't say, fuck this shit and walk away. could be just, they devised this plan to make him look like a piece of shit because they don't care about demeaning themselves in any way. And everyone will feel sorry for her, and she'll get the extra money, and they'll be walking away with the bags.
And then Neo asks, "Do you think this will lead to another Amber Heard situation?" I don't think she's nearly as famous enough for anyone to care. I'll put it very nicely.
I kind of wish people would stop caring about stuff like this because, like, if it is an abusive relationship, that's like lawyer up and take care of your business off screen. You don't need to show people that,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's just even more proof, at least for me, that this feels like a stunt. And then, like, how she left the air, it was just so weird. Someone came in the room and just asked her if she'd taken her meds, and then the stream cut off. It was so bizarre. I was just like, this made the whole thing even more suspicious.
That's the other thing I was thinking about too. Is like, if this is a work, this is not even a good work because none of you guys look better at the end of this. You know what I mean? It's like in the world of like wrestling, usually if it's a work, it's gonna lead to like something that's gonna like help both sides at the end. But both of you just look completely dumb now after this whole thing is over. And by the way, just show you guys what's going on our Twitch side of things. This is her as we speak. As you can see here, she has nearly 25,000 people watching her drive in her own car. So, yeah, people are down kind of bad these days. I think that's probably the best way we can wrap up this story.
Man, it just makes me depressed thinking about that.
It's just sad. It's just sad because
it makes me depressed.
Well,
it's like that people pay for this.
It's so dumb. But it's just sad because, like, I've seen, people go out to, like, BLM protests and Antifa protests and stream it on Twitch. And it's incredible, the footage they get. And I've seen them get banned, too, for, like, the dumbest things. And, like, this girl, I don't want to, like, say anything nasty. But this girl, she just does the stupidest things and she gets away with it. It really frustrates the hell out of me. Because I've seen a lot of my friends get, their channels taken down over like one of them was at a LGBT march in New York, and like one nipple was shown and their channel was taken down.
Yeah. But Twitch is pretty much become chatterbait at this point. I mean, it's not even like subtle anymore. Like, you'll go on Twitch and like the first like 5 or 6 people you see are like all women with their tits out in hot tubs in their living rooms and shit like that. And then it's like, it wasn't supposed to be about video games, but I mean, Twitch has been allowing stuff like this for pretty much years at this point. So I mean, I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. But speaking of change. Well, hold on. Speaking of change, real quick, we do have a new guest who joined us, I'm assuming, after his work break, Mr. Rick Aragon. God, how you doing today, Rick?
Great. I literally got off work and I just got home right now.
All right. Well, you didn't miss anything. We were just talking about Twitch thoughts, so you wouldn't have anything to really contribute to that conversation anyway. So
no.
But here's a conversation that you may actually have something to contribute to, because now we're going to move over to our good buddy Martin Scorsese, who has a problem with box office being the barometer of success in the movie industry. So this one should get pretty good. Well, actually, that's the wrong story. Let me hop back over here for a second. Success. Yeah, that's a teaser. Back over here. Martin Scorsese rails against box office succession, and it's repulsive and really insulting. So obviously, we've given Martin Scorsese a lot of credit here for the things that he said over the last few years. Martin Scorsese is going to go down as one of the greatest filmmakers of all time. I don't think there's really much argument on that side of the things. He's called out the MCU for not being cinema, which has upset a lot of people. Some of them me and Rick know personally. But here he made a little statement that kind of drew some eyebrows here. And this actually got a good debate earlier this week. But the Academy Award-winning filmmaker called the industry obsession with the box office both repulsive and really insulting. Scorsese praised the festival for championing filmmaking at a time where cinema is diluted, demeaned, belittled from all sides, not necessarily on but the business side, but certainly about the art. He says, since the 80s, there's been a focus on numbers. It's kind of repulsive, Scorsese says. The cost of a movie is one thing. Understand that a film costs a certain amount. They expect at least their money back. The emphasis now is on the numbers, costs, opening weekends, how much it made in the United States, how much it made in England, how much it made in Asia, how much it made in the entire world, how many viewers has it got. As a filmmaker and as a person who can't imagine life without cinema, it finds it really insulting. Scorsese went on to add that I've always known that considerations have no place at the New York Film Festival. And here's the key also with this. There's no awards here. You don't have to compete. You just have to love cinema here. So I think Edgar Wright, who's an outspoken Scorsese lover, shared his thoughts about his comments, saying that I've said this to other filmmakers who've maybe had a similar initial reactions to a film Scott Pilgrim did, and said that the 3-day weekend is not the end of the story for any movie. People shouldn't buy into that idea, Wright said. He said rating films by their box office is like a football fan equivalent to films. Most of my favorite films are that are considered classics today would not be considered hits at their time. Right, also pointed out that you can point to hundreds of classic movies, whether it's Citizen Kane, Blade Runner, The Big Lebowski. So how a film does in the first 3 days will never be the end of the story. The further we get away from that, the discourse about box office numbers being the totality of a movie, the better. Now, here's the thing. So I'm going to get to the point where we're talking about Scorsese's current movie that he's working on, which is a $200 million production, by the way. Just throw that out there. But here's the thing. There's two ways to look at it. I can see where he's coming from, but I can also see the reality of it as well. Our current stretch right now of films that we've seen over the last 5 or 6 weeks have been probably one of the worst stretches of movies that we've seen in quite some time. Literally every movie that's come out, with the exception of Halloween Ends, only because that had such a very cheap budget by comparison, has essentially bombed. Amsterdam bombed horribly. Bros bombed horribly. The Woman Kings bombed. Don't Worry, Darling may break even. I'm not sure if it's close to breaking even or not. But we're at this point now where people are just rejecting these films, and the best way to see if the audience rejects what you're putting out there is whether they're actually willing to pay money to see it. And I guess from Scorsese's point of view, it's like, does the box office mean that something's a good movie? No, it doesn't. I mean, Avatar is probably the highest grossing movie ever, or I think Avatar, like Endgame. No one will call those two movies like the greatest pieces of cinema in the world, right? So, I mean, generally, yes, he is correct in that sense, but to kind of dismiss the box office altogether as kind of like a barometer of how the audience actually gauges your film is also going too far the other way. Rob, I know this one struck a chord with you, so I'll let you start this one. What do you think of Scorsese's comments here?
Well, Martin Scorsese is actually my favorite living director. I pretty much agree with him on everything he said since 2019, since he said Marvel movies are theme park rides. They're not cinema. I perfectly understand what he means and where he comes from. However, movies, and he understands this, it's a balance between art and commerce. Okay. It is a business, but you still have to get people to come to the movies. And when they stop coming to the movies, guess what? There's something broken. The balance is out of whack. Now, what we've had since the MCU got started was, these gargantuan $100 million production Marvel movies. And that has ballooned over time. And, they make their money back. But Hollywood has stopped taking risks because enough movies don't make money that are, independent productions or vision, artistic, visions by the director that just don't make their budget back. And so Hollywood has stopped taking risks. I will say this. It's a business, so they could tell me to go fuck myself, honestly. They could take all their money, make nothing but Marvel movies to the end of time, and, it won't matter to them. But I think they owe the audience to take risks. I think Hollywood owes it to people that love movies, that spend their hard-earned money to go see their productions, to take risks. because if Hollywood is over, if you're not going to try anymore, and it's just these theme park CGI fests, I don't know, man. I don't know. I guess I'm gonna stay home at some point. But it's like there's no point to going to the movies if that's all we're gonna see. So I think Martin Scorsese is absolutely right. I think the sole focus on box office alone, it's like, who are these people? They don't love movies. The people that run these production studios, who run the companies that make movies, they don't care. They don't care about cinema as an art form and even making it entertaining. They don't take risks. So I honestly champion what he said. I believe in it strongly. And Martin Scorsese's movies, even the really great ones, have not historically made a shitload of money. They just haven't. So this $200 million Western, I'm so excited to see it, but it's probably not even going to make 120, 130 million. I mean, it'll be lucky to get that.
Real quick, I just want to bring this up. Scorsese's his next film is Killers of the Flower Moon with Leonardo DiCaprio and Robert De Niro. It's a $200 million Western, but it's supposed to be released in both theaters and stream on Apple Plus sometime next year. So that's his next project. Rick, you're our movie guy. What do you think of Scorsese's comments regarding the box office?
I'm not sure we need to listen to this bitter elitist has-been who only makes gangster movies. I mean, that's why. Forget about it. Forget about it. Yeah. I'll put it this way. I think I get where he's coming from, because you had mentioned when the MCU fanboys were bragging about, how was it, Endgame or Infinity War or one of those, was the biggest box office hit of all time. And then they re-released Avatar, and there seemed to be this very odd competition between Avatar and Endgame to see which one would be the all-time biggest box office winner of all time. And both camps were basically saying or suggesting that if one beat out the other, that was a sign of the quality of the film itself. So I think Scorsese's point is that we are confusing the financial success of a particular movie with its quality, with how good it is, with whether or not it will, quote, stand the test of time, whether we will see this movie decades after it's released, and we'll have anniversary specials. Are we really going to have an anniversary special for Avatar? I mean, I don't remember. I mean, it was about 2009.
Yeah.
So I don't get why we're going to say that it's one of the great films up there with like Citizen Kane or maybe Goodfellas, Vertigo, Seven Samurai, things like that. So yeah, I get his point, and I think he's right. He is trying to say, don't focus. It's not a competition. We've made it into a competition. I mean, we've always judged how good or a bad a movie is based on how many tickets were sold. You look at something like Bros. I mean, wasn't Eichner going on about how it was going to make millions, and he decided that the poor showing was not a reflection of his work, but a reflection of, I guess, homophobia in his case. No, it was just because it wasn't a good movie. But if it had made millions of dollars, if it had been the number one hit, he would have said it's a great film. No, it's not a great film. What was the number one movie this week? Corey Begins. It wasn't a great film but people went to see it because they had the name recognition. But are we going to say because it was the number one box office hit of the week that it's a great film? No. I think that was Scorsese's point.
Mhm.
And I agree with him. It's not a judgment about how much money you make. And too many, especially the MCU fanboys, decided and made it a point that because it opened massively, it has to be a great film. No, that's why they got all tangled up with the how dare he say it's not cinema. No, it's not cinema. It is a theme park. It is an amusement ride. I mean, they literally have amusement rides at
They
Disney
literally
World
have
now.
grown men in the movie theater cheering like children because Spider-Man
And
showed up
crying.
on screen.
And crying.
That's
And
sad, dude.
crying.
That's really sad.
Yes.
Yeah.
So so there you go. So yes, Scorsese's right. Again,
R-
he's
r-
right again.
Real quick before I let Orange comment, I'm gonna assume that this is John. He's asking us what exactly did Scorsese say. We just went through the full quote of everything that he said. Basically, the too long didn't read version is that he says that movies shouldn't be defined by their box office. That's essentially what he's saying. Go ahead, Orange.
While I agree that movies shouldn't be defined by the box office to a degree, the box office is actually incredibly important. And I've actually done videos on this a while back. You get rid of the box office, or if you get rid of theaters, which are the biggest bring-ins for the box office, say goodbye to the MCU, say goodbye to DC superhero movies, all these big budget $200 million movies, you're never going to see them again.
Yeah.
And because of the streaming wars that we have right now with HBO Max, Disney Plus, Paramount Plus, Peacock, all of them, look at what we got in the theaters over the last month and a half. We got some of the worst movies that have ever been put on the big screen. We have movies that have bombed so badly because, well, nobody's watching anything big right now and everything's going to streaming. And now we also want to be telling we want to be telling agenda, not stories. But if people don't realize, while Martin Scorsese does indeed have a point, the box office does need to continue, and we need theaters to do it. I know it's slightly off away from the topic of Scorsese's point, but put it this way. As much as Scorsese is a great director, and do not get me wrong, he is a great director. He does have a point when he says that Marvel movies are kind of just not that important anymore. But we also need to recognize that the box office is important enough to continue the fact that if you want big budget movies and movies that will entertain you, the box office does need to endure.
Yeah,
that's mine.
Well, we certainly don't want the government getting involved in movie making. Please, God, no. You know what I mean?
I
See,
think
this is
it's
why,
a little too late for that. I think it's a little too late for
fair enough. No, fair enough, because the CIA and all kinds of influences from the government are already involved. What I mean is, like in Russia, when it was state-sponsored art, it's like, oh boy, propaganda, blatant propaganda. We have propaganda, but it's like, it's the fun kind. No. So
fun as if they're not putting a gun to your head and forcing you to watch it yet.
Yeah. So I'm not advocating for that. We absolutely need the business aspect of it. And one of the things I learned reading David Thompson, great film writer, was it is immoral to make somebody else pay for your creative endeavor. And so it's like filmmakers have gotten away with the fact that they don't have to put up the money. The studio does. And if it fails, guess who pays? The studio. And so it's and I don't know what to think. I don't know if the studios are creative and it's just a form of money laundering at this point, because I mean, there's certainly evidence to support that. Or if it's their ass is on the line and they're not going to green light it unless it's a guarantee. So that's why we see these big tentpole movies and not much else.
Any other thoughts on this one before we go on to our next topic?
Well, I have my own little media empire. Sorry, Kathy.
No, you're good.
So I kind of understand what he's saying. Some of my best work is stuff that is not the most expensive thing that I've had to put money, invest in stuff too, So, yep. And I do agree that it's not the full sum of the movie's quality. So I think it's hard for people to get past the money though sometimes. So especially when you have a lot of box office bombs like we have had in the recent month and a half-ish.
Yeah. with uninspired pieces of shit like the film that's been coming out lately. It should be judged by their box office failures, because that's all there is to judge it off of. A lot of films that have come out lately are just corporate schlock just slung on a fucking film screen. There is nothing of artistic value in a lot of these films nowadays, and by that, they don't really deserve to be held to any other regard other than their failing numbers. And I will laugh, mock, and shame when they fail and when they seek to fail. But I do wish that artistic endeavors, films that really do take a chance, really try to do something interesting and made by creators that are inspired to move the medium forward in ways that we love to see. I wish that a money sign really wasn't like the big factor of it all. I mean, like, imagine if people just judged The Shawshank Redemption by its box office number. Movie's a fucking masterpiece, and it flopped in the box office just because it had happened to come out when Forrest Gump came out and it got the shit into the stick. So there's great films out there that really don't make the money that, in my opinion, they truly do deserve. And I really wish there was situations where something could, like, money factors wouldn't be such a thing when it comes to great artistic and genius endeavors.
Well, I agree, because I mean, look at what happened with movies like The Iron Giant and Atlantis: The Last Empire. They didn't do so well in the box office, but they became cult classics, and they made all their money back in film, in home releases, and they're still considered classics today. And especially like The Iron Giant, which is a masterpiece, and it still holds up to this day. It's better than a lot of the animated movies that are coming out now.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I could see his point.
Box office numbers to some regard, but like I think about like the movies, like obviously in this era we have Joker, which barely had a budget compared to a lot of Marvel movies, for example, and made so much money. Then you look at Pulp Fiction is another one that like had a small budget and just made all of it back and more.
Yeah.
There's ways that it can be done where you just have these where creators are taking chances with their works. But I don't know what is going on. It's just everyone just focusing on making like the most expensive movie and taking the lowest risk.
Yeah, that's essentially what has become. But then again, we've talked about this in the past. This is what happens when the movie industry becomes corporatized, when essentially your film studios are just giant corporations now, and all they're going to care about is money. Because as a corporation, your only obligation is making the most money for your shareholders as possible. So it's like, okay, let's give $300 million to the next Marvel movie in hopes that it makes $1 billion at the box office. That's just the way these guys think now. Like that small studio mentality that Scorsese probably dealt with back in like the 70s and the 60s back then. It's like that really just doesn't exist anymore. If it does, it's on a very, very indie level at this point. So like I said, you can look at it from two perspectives, but yeah, just because a movie makes money at the box office doesn't mean it makes it good. But just because a movie doesn't make money at the box office also doesn't mean that, oh, it's a good movie just because people didn't see it. It's like we've seen a couple of bad movies that didn't make any money that were just simply bad movies. So you got to look at it from the objective side as well. So we're going to move on here to our next topic. I kind of spoiled it a little bit here, but it's about Bill Murray. Now, I noticed this about a week ago, that there's a lot of stories coming out recently about Bill Murray, and I found it very odd, the timing of it. I think the first one I paid attention to was Gina Davis that came out and said something about Bill Murray that happened like back in like the 80s or something like that. And I was like, it's a very odd time to bring up something that happened nearly 40 years ago, but I didn't think anything of it at the time. But then I start seeing one person come out with another Bill Murray story and another person. By the time Seth Green came out and made an allegation, I was like, okay, is something going on here where we're trying to cancel Bill Murray for something that he did internally, because I'm not exactly sure like what the issue here is. But Bill Murray is now facing an avalanche of new allegations of bad behavior that he has exhibited throughout his career on the set of movies that he has worked on. So let's see if I can move down here. So this is coming from Puck, and I wish Tom was actually on here, because Tom had mentioned something about Puck is kind of like the driving news source behind a lot of these allegations against Bill Murray, but I've never heard of him personally, so I'm not sure exactly what's going on with that organization specifically. But here we have another allegation here that Bill Murray has paid up to $100,000 for a settlement for a much younger female crew member on the film Being Immortal. The production, which deadline is first reported back in April, was suspended due to a complaint about his behavior. Now, Murray, who's 72 years old, allegedly kissed and straddled a woman on set, and she was horrified by this. They interpreted his actions as entirely sexual and filed a complaint against the actor. And so far, there's been no comments made on his side of things. But during the course of this, the next thing you know is that Gina Davis came out a couple weeks back and said that her account with Murray on the set of Quick Change in 1990, saying that when she first met the author, he insisted that on using a massage machine on her back. Davis refused the offer multiple times, but Murray consisted, was relentless in his her approach about this. She alleged that the comedian screamed at her on set in front of 300 people. She also says this on the book, and that Murray's behavior made her uncomfortable. They did a dual interview on the Arsenio Hall show years ago, which Murray was trying to pull down a spaghetti strap from her dress as she spoke. I think we have Rod Schneider came out and said that Murray absolutely hated the cast members at the time when he came back to guest host. He wasn't very nice to us. He said he hated Saturday Night Live when he hosted. He absolutely hated us. I mean, seething. He hated Chris Farley with a passion. He was just looking at him. Snyder said that he really hated Sandler as well. Then the next thing you know, Seth Green came out and he said that let me make sure I have this right here, that on the earliest occasion on Saturday Night Live, Seth, when he was 9 years old, Murray, who was guest hosting at the time, would have been in his early 30s, so this was a long time ago. Seth Green was playing a kid in a skit. He was sitting backstage watching TV when Murray saw me sitting in the arm of this chair. He made a big fuss about me being in his seat, and that was kind of absurd. I was sitting on the arm of the chair. There were several lengths of the sofa. He kindly he said that F off, this is my chair. Green refused, and then he picked me up by my ankles, held me upside down, and dangled me over the trash. Like the trash goes in the trash can as I was screaming and I swung my arms. Fell. I didn't read this one beforehand. That's actually kind of funny, even though it is messed up too. It's true. And then, of course, so that's another allegation here. Then Lucy Liu said that Murray was hurling insults at her during the rehearsal for Charlie's Angels. So, I mean, there's a laundry list of people just coming out and saying that Murray's basically was a dick to them when they worked together on these certain productions. And all of these stories seem to be coming out. I don't want to say it's calculated, but it's just one after another after another. It kind of makes you think, okay, let's be fair here. Has Bill Murray just generally been an asshole this entire time for the last 40 years and no one decided to say anything about it until the last 3 weeks? Or is there something else going on backstage where all of these negative press headlines are coming out one after another because they're trying to accomplish something that maybe we don't know about? We're in the age of Me Too now, so this one can go either way. What's your guys' take on all these allegations about Bill Murray coming out? Don't everyone talk at once.
Somewhere in the middle, okay? Look, it's somewhere in the middle, I think, because it's true. Bill Murray does have a reputation as being like a very sarcastic, acerbic dick. Okay, he does have that reputation. He's great with his fans. He's great with the public, but on set, for 30, 40 years, he's had a reputation as being a little prickly. Now, he has his good days, he has his bad days. But this seems coordinated. This seems like a concerted effort to throw Bill Murray under the bus, especially since they sort of let him go off the set of that movie that they had. Oh, we're gonna have to do major rewrites, which I think is the one that got referenced in the article. But Being Mortal or whatever. So Yeah, I don't know. I think the truth's somewhere in the middle. Yeah, he's probably a dick, but I think this is also somewhat coordinated. Solange Knowles came out and said in 2016 Bill Murray touched her hair, you know, and just because he thought it was a wig or something, and it was just like, okay, well, I don't know. Look, both things can be true, and I think that's probably the case here. But I'm interested in hearing what everyone else thinks.
Well, I had heard those stories about his how difficult he was on Charlie's Angels, which is why he wasn't brought back as Bosley, if I understand it correctly. It went to Bernie Mac, who was more easy to work with. And yes, Bill Murray has always been, as you said, rather prickly, and he's never been the nicest person to work with, as I understand. As for whether it's all coordinated, well, it's strange that all these stories are coming out at this time. Even though we've heard stories like this before, maybe just people are kind of bringing it up again because one person remembered and now another person remembered. And I do have to admit that Seth Green story is slightly amusing. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's kind of poor kid is hanging over the trash can. But I think it's I don't know if it's really a cancel an effort to cancel Bill Murray, because he's been like this whole career, even probably starting with Saturday Night Live in the 70s. So why now? Why at this particular juncture are we going to go after him? And who knows? Maybe there's a reason that he ultimately lost Best Actor that one year for Lost in Translation. Maybe not enough people liked him enough to vote for him.
My thoughts on this. If he's getting Me Too'd, and there have been past accounts, well, I'm not condoning it, but back in those days, that was more common. So it is in all possibility he may have been a little bit perverted. Bounding makes a good point in the chat where he got Me Too'd earlier this year. I also remember allegations and other crap coming out just before Ghostbusters Afterlife came out last November, where they were doing everything to frickin' get bad press around the actors and actresses. And Bill Murray's an easy target because, well, he does have some controversial working methods. And not only that, but guess what just kind of got green lit for production? Actually, it's in pre-production phase. Ghostbusters 4. If he is anything a part of that, there's even more controversy surrounding any of the talent attached to it. Well, we all know that there are very sore losers from a pathetic attempt at a Ghostbusters film 6 years ago. And if anybody has problems with it, I'd say that they really should just, if you're going to say something about it, make sure you have the frickin' facts to back it up. Make sure you have the proof to back it up, because the Me Too era is truly screwing the whole notion of due process. People like me who have been falsely accused, that's all it really takes nowadays. An accusation is enough to destroy a life. And yes, Bill Murray has more money. Bill Murray has the star power. He can handle that sort of thing. He can weather it for the most part. But also, you got to remember that this dude does have a history, as everybody else has pointed out, of being hard to work with. If what is being accused against him has any truth, let it come out in court. Let it be shown to the public through legal channels. Otherwise, because court of public opinion honestly should have absolutely no impact on how people are treated. because it has been doing it for too long and it has been ruining people simply because of public perception. And that is a dangerous road to keep on traveling.
Where you can basically just destroy someone's career and reputation without them ever seeing a day in court.
That too.
Yep. For me personally, I just don't care about these accusations, especially if they're from fucking like 10 plus years ago. Like, if you were okay with being dehumanized 10 fucking years ago, then who am I to fucking defend you? And if you want to come out now and act like, you know, it was a big deal when before you just shut your mouth and dealt with it, like, that's on you, bro. Like, I don't want to hear about how Bill Murray touched your fake ass hair. Like, I just don't give a fuck, and I'm tired of all these accusations that happen years later. It's like, if you fucking happen, say something now, and so that it can be dealt with accordingly and have as much proof as you possibly can. If we just keep like accepting these accusations from multiple years ago, like, we're never going to get anywhere. There needs to be a standard for how disrespectful acts are handled. And the first thing is to come out immediately and speak on it, not, 10, 15, 20, sometimes
30.
60 fucking years later. Like, it's literally a joke. Like, there's nothing I could do. And clearly you didn't care then, so why should I care now?
Yeah, I think out of all the allegations that I read, the only one that seems to have any real merit is the one where allegedly he groped some woman on set of a movie that he was working on, and apparently there was like a settlement off screen. So it's hard to tell the specifics of that one, because I'm pretty sure with a situation like that, there's NDAs involved, so no one's gonna like really come out and speak about it for that reason alone. But if there was actually like money being lent from, I guess, either something that he did, or like I said, there was an allegation that he did something inappropriate, that would probably hold a little bit more weight to me than all these other stories just seem to be piling on from that. Like I said, why are we bringing up on-set stuff that happened 30 years ago when, like, why is this only like the first time that we're hearing about this now? It's like Seth Green is literally talking about a situation that happened when he was like a kid. Isn't he like 50 now or something like that? So it's like, yeah. So I mean, like I said,
the other side of that is that Bill Murray is kind of old. He's been in Hollywood for like forever, right?
Yeah.
So he's bound to have had some indiscretions and things that he should regret if he doesn't already regret. And this is kind of like the cynical side of me. Gonna borrow some of your cynicism, Rob.
Thanks.
And it says, oh, well, he's a fading star. He's on his way out. You know, this is a great chance to like use his popularity and as like a ploy to get more attention. Kind of like what Orange had said. Maybe it's like a precursor to Ghostbusters 4 coming out, and they have to explain why he's not there or why they didn't want to pay him money for the role. It's just, you know, unfortunately, I also agree with Kathy. You know, it's like this 10, 20 years ago, we could have done something maybe a little bit more, you know, helpful. But now it's just kind of like, I think you're just hurting yourself if you can't admit it sooner than that. So.
Well, what I was thinking was that it was Leslie Jones and the rest of the 2016 crew trying to get back at him. Trying to get Ghostbusters 4 shut down because they want their sequel or whatever.
Well, if She-Hulk's any indication, they'll have their own Disney Plus show talking all about all the men that have ever harassed them or said anything bad about them at this rate. So.
Well, why would he? Why would they go after? Why would the female Ghostbuster crew go after Bill Murray? I mean, he made a cameo. I mean, he agreed to be in this movie. Agreed to be in the movie, almost as an endorsement. I'm puzzled.
Well,
it's never good enough. Okay.
Ghostbusters 2016, they're still really salty.
They are.
Why? Because they made a bad movie. God.
Yeah. No, it wasn't bad. It was the incels.
It wasn't bad. It wouldn't have been fun. Men are all incompetent. They're always stupid, and they're always evil, and that it's just women are just too good, and we have to deal with them all the time. So
yes,
and it's just awful. Yeah. So Bill Murray could have kissed their toes all the way up the red carpet, and it would not have been good enough for them.
Right.
No, never.
Never.
Never, because they still. Oh, remember, Ghostbusters 2016 wasn't included in the pack either. It was that bad.
Yeah.
Well,
What do you think, Pete?
It had nothing to do with it, with anything. Sorry, Pete. Go ahead.
No, it's like, what do you think, Pete?
Well, what do I think? I think Bill Murray is a bit of an old fossil, and he hasn't got with the program. And people are like, "What's with this guy?" It sounds like he just like he kind of likes how Hollywood was, and he just like, "I'm not changing."
Yeah, but I admire that. See, like, and I get it. Like, he probably just can't act like this anymore. I find it really entertaining personally, because if I even now, it's like I would be so disappointed if I was in Hollywood now as an actor. I'd be like, it's not fun anymore. It's like you're telling on each other, like you're part, to the Stasi or something. It's just I don't know. Like modern Hollywood, it's like who wants to? It's not fun. Is it just about money at this point?
I still can't forgive Bill Murray for that movie with the elephant, though. See,
Dumbo Drop, Operation Dumbo Drop, was that it?
No, it was another one where he was a circus performer.
It's awful.
Okay.
It's so bad. It taints everything. You see Bill Murray after that, and you're like,
hey, I love Scrooged. Okay, I still watch it every Christmas. I love that movie, but yeah, no, he's got a few good roles, and that's about it.
It's someone literally just sent me a couple of messages that I can't wait to get to the closer for this show because I'm gonna go off like on a nuclear tangent here, but let's go over to something that won't make me quite as angry, and that is She-Hulk. The creators and the actors of the show admitting that this entire show is nothing more than the big giant fuck you to fans. So the star here, Tatiana Maslany, or whatever her name is, I don't even care to get it right at this point. After the 9 weeks that she put me through. So essentially, her, Jessica Gao, and all the people. The final episode was last week. Was the last episode. It was a 9-episode thing. It's finally done. And immediately after the episode, which was garbage, by the way, which sealed up that the whole show was absolutely pointless. All these articles start coming out about, yeah, She-Hulk really stuck one to those toxic male trolls on the internet, right? And I'm thinking to myself, you guys spent multi-million dollars on this budget for this show just so you can dunk on people because 5 years later you still can't get over the fact that people didn't like the last fucking Jedis. Like, is that where I'm getting at this point? Is that where we are? It seems like it is. So yeah, the lead writer Jessica Gao and the director Kat Kozar, whatever, I don't even give a shit, have confirmed the development of their latest entry was predicated on mostly making fun of their interpretation of male Marvel fans. So I gotta get to the statement here. So was it Miss Maslany here? Talked to which interview did she talk to? Variety. Yeah, she spoke with Variety, and she made some comments here about how the finales tackle some of the exact same trolling comments that Marvel fans have been making, specifically towards female superheroes. So keep in mind, ever since Captain Marvel, men just hate female superheroes now. They can't stand them, even though this criticism never existed for Wonder Woman at all, even though that was before all this shit. They can't admit, like I said, they can't take accountability for any of their own actions or any of their own quality film. So when somebody doesn't like it, it has to be because they're misogynist. It's not because we're just creating absolute garbage. But she goes on to say that Jessica Gao is a genius and knows about the culture that we're living in and her position in it when she's writing these stories about a woman superhero. The entire series was about Jen and her horrible dates, about the men who was either hitting on her who she didn't like and she didn't want to hit on her, or she was bitching about the men who she slept with and then didn't call her back. That was the entire 9-episode series. There was no superheroing anywhere in this series. There was no actual villains. The villains of this show was the fans. That was the whole villains. She knows that what the response is going to be. As a cast, it was delightful sending each other these troll responses like, oh my god, give him a week and they're really going to pop this up verbatim in the show and become the villains of the show. It was so thrilling. So like I said, these are people who sat in the writing room. I think there's a picture of the writers here. If not, I'll find it here in a bit. They literally sat in the writing room. It's like, how we're gonna make the show attack our toxic fan base that we have here for She-Hulk. Let me put this in words you understand. I think this was like the second lowest Disney Plus series ever for Marvel since they've been doing this since WandaVision. This is the second lowest rated. There was a couple of weeks where they didn't even rank anywhere in the ratings when the show was out. So for them to dedicate an entire series to something that most people didn't even watch anyway just kind of shows you how deep in their heads YouTubers and other people who don't like them are. She's met with the follow-up question that she was expecting to face trolls when you signed on for the show. So reading the script, it was so true. There's so much resistance to a woman just existing in the space of superheroes. Once again, there has not been a female superhero before Captain Marvel 3 years ago. So now men just can't handle a female superhero on their screen now. That's the whole hook. There's always going to be that. I anticipated it. That's why I felt that it's important. There's such an entitlement to the space by certain people to even exist as a She-Hulk. It's like, fuck you. And I love that. Okay, She-Hulk has been around since what? How long has She-Hulk been around as a character? What, the 70s? Maybe even longer than that? She acts like this is like the first time anyone's ever seen She-Hulk in any kind of like adaptation like whatsoever. And need to remind you, people actually liked She-Hulk the way that she was originally written, not like the modern adaptation. I mean, like the original version of her, like way back in the day when you actually had good writers doing this. And then Gal, who is the I guess the showrunner of this show, talks about the conversation that she had with her and Kevin, and how it was supposed to be like a ripoff of the real life Kevin Feige and things of that nature. She talked about how the finale was so much longer than the scripts. If they had let me, I probably would have written a 10-minute conversation of my avatar arguing with Kevin, which would have been great fucking television, just to have like an absolutely pointless conversation for a third of your entire television show. This is probably the tightest version that we could have come. We were a couple of jabs where you're like, okay, is this okay, this is a little mean. She's talking about the jabs we took at Kevin Feige and things of that nature. The whole thing just goes on the bitch about, oh my god, can you believe that these men are just hate female superheroes? That's why we did the show the way that we did, and that's why the show was as awful as it was. I don't know who wants to start with this one, but what do you think of these low IQ, ugly 40-year-old, childless, fucking narcissistic, drunk wine moms making a show bitching about men for 9 episodes? Who wants to take this one on?
Kathy.
I will say this. I didn't watch the show, so I can't really provide too much in the way of informed opinion. However, if that is indeed their intent, they should be fired, because one, you put your own personal vendetta in front of entertaining masses.
Yep.
You sacrificed the company's time and money for your own
reputation
for your own personal agenda to go and attack people. As for She-Hulk back early on, a lot of people, or I did hear some backlash about her breaking fourth wall and whatnot. As a person who is a fan of She-Hulk back earlier on and whatnot, she's the original fourth wall breaker.
Yep.
Not Deadpool. A lot of people forget that. So her breaking the fourth wall on the show, if I ever do watch the show, which I did say to a friend of mine that I would check it out, not review it, but check it out, her breaking the fourth wall isn't going to bother me unless there's agenda attached to it. So when it comes to this show, strictly, or I can't really talk about the show, but I can talk about what these women are saying. We did this to basically stick it to the fans and the toxic fans. You have not yet shown receipts to any of the accusations of sexism or racism over the past 6 years that you've been bitching about it. Not once have they provided any sort of proof to their accusations. So until they do that, I'm going to simply look at them like Tommy Lee Jones looking at the person who's acting like an idiot with a newspaper. And
No
that's
country
all
for
I
all
have
men.
to say.
Yeah.
It's like, grow up. Until you are ready to bring the frickin' proof, until you are ready to actually bring the evidence that supports your accusations or your claims, shut up. Stop putting your own personal vendetta behind your work because you are a sad, lonely, and pathetic little person who constantly needs validation from higher ups who are going to give you an opportunity. They gave you an opportunity to do something great. What did you do? You squandered it to stick it to the patriarchy.
I just wanted to throw this on screen here for a second. These are the writers of this show. Everyone in this room right here are all the people who wrote this show over 9 episodes. I see I can zoom in just a little bit here and make it a little bit more clear. But yeah, these are your She-Hulk writers who wrote an entire season to be like, you know what? We need to get those male trolls on the internet. We don't want to entertain or bother in writing any quality television. It's just the trolls that we need to worry about.
So these are not actors playing the writers. These are
No,
the
these
actual
are
literal
these are the literal writers of the show. These are not actors. These are the actual people who wrote the show. The fat Asian one there at the top, she's Jessica Gao, so she's the showrunner of this whole thing. So
I'm surprised.
Well,
A
yeah,
lot
they
of them look like they need to get the fuck on a treadmill.
Well, you certainly have a wide diversity there, but were any of them? I'm curious, as someone who didn't read comic books and never followed the MCU to the degree where I know what all of these characters do or what they're about. Are any of these writers familiar or fans of the comic book genre, of She-Hulk, of just any of these characters in general?
no.
All right. So
They got
No.
hired. They got hired because it's a female superhero. So we need female writers and female directors on because that's how straight line our mind and thinking is that, well, it's a show about a woman, so it has to be written and directed by women. And then you
Wait a
just
second.
proven by the course of that why that's a terrible idea.
Put that photo back up. Put that photo back up, please.
1 second.
All of them are women, and they needed all of it.
No, there are two men.
No, there's two guys.
I'm about to say there looks like 2-3 guys in that shot there, and
Are
it's
you
like,
sure they're guys? They could
Not
be
diverse
trans.
enough.
yeah, they could be trans. I mean,
Oh no, I don't think so.
it's possible they could identify as a woman or something.
There, but I have tired. I have tired of mentioning again and again how these same people who are adamant that men in particular have such a hostility towards female superheroes or female leads or female action uh, characters are the same ones who love Wonder Woman, who love Ripley, who love was it Sarah Connor, and who love I mean who love strong female characters in these sci-fi and comic book genres. I think what we see here is these writers and the people behind it just have a hostility towards their audience rather than try to just give a show where they could prove that a woman could be a great superhero, as they insist that they're trying to do. They create a show to fight these figures that maybe don't even exist. I mean, I did not know that there were so many males so enraged by having a female superhero. And I say this as someone who, again, without knowing much about superhero characters, I did name the first Wonder Woman as probably one of my top films of that year, if not the top film. I was so impressed with what they did. The second one was just monstrously bad, but that's neither here nor there.
See, I didn't like the first one that much, so I thought it aged poorly.
Oh, well,
I thought the first one was good up until a point. I think the ending hurt that movie big time. But the first one, the second one, I'm not going to defend.
Wow.
No, none of us. I think none of us will. But again, you're writing, you're venting your frustrations, and you're insulting your audience, small as it may be, and you're just needlessly aggravating people. I don't understand what it is about these writers of these shows and these movies that just have such a almost pathological hatred toward their target audience. I imagine that a lot of comic book fans or She-Hulk fans were not happy to see themselves thought of in such negative, awful terms. I'm just perplexed as to why these writers didn't decide, hey, you know what, let's ignore them altogether. Let's, of all of these incels and trolls and what have you, let's just ignore them, focus on this show. They use the show as kind of a way to fight back and respond against all these criticisms. And we're talking about the female Ghostbusters a while back. What were they saying? That the people who didn't like this movie were because they were drawn by sexism and they couldn't tolerate the female Ghostbusters. That did not make your movie any better. It made it worse. And I was talking, and when I saw it with my friend Fidel, who sadly passed on, we both said it wouldn't have been funny if it had been men, because the script was not funny. There was nothing there. And now you have this She-Hulk who's created, written just to kind of go against men, or just make fun of them, or target them. There's no point to all this. It's just needlessly hostile, and it just aggravates people, pushes people away, even people who, like me, might have given the show a chance, even though I'm not a superhero aficionado. Why am I going to watch something that is going to say that I am bad just by my fact of my very existence? I'm perplexed as to why there's just such animosity, such hostility, such rage, such hatred, rather than just say, make a show that will prove them wrong, ignore all these voices, and just focus on creating a positive character. You can't create a positive character and say this is a strong female when she's out there twerking with what was it, Megan Thee Stallion?
Megan Thee Stallion.
Yeah.
Who I really have no idea who she is.
But what is, like, I don't understand, because it's not even a heroic profile. It's not something that's empowering.
No.
It's not something where you have a strong female action hero who is has principles and has them tested by a villain and all these things that Disney has the money to do, and yet they do this absurd, idiotic, excuse me if this isn't the right term, but postmodern, tongue-in-cheek, supposed to be comedy bullshit. I'm sorry, but who is this for? Is this for 40-year-old barren women who just, it's too late for them, and they're just gonna buy into the idea that it's every man's fault in their life that they're not happy and satisfied?
Did you not see Did you not see the writing room? That's who this show is for. And just another note on what you just said. This show, which is a superhero show, by the way, you're expecting superheroes, expecting heroicism. This show goes out of its way every single chance it possibly gets to run away from any idea of this character being heroic in any way, shape, or form. She rejects the idea of being a superhero. She rejects the idea of helping others. Everything is all about her. It's all about herself. There's one episode she literally shows up to her friend's wedding as She-Hulk just so she can make everything about herself. Like she's portrayed as narcissistic. She's portrayed as a skank. She's portrayed as completely unlikable. And this is who this is written by these people who are like, oh, you guys don't like female superheroes. You don't like female characters. Like, you wrote this character. Like, who are you blaming here for this shit?
It'd be one thing if she and again, I've not seen an episode of the show, so this is just me spitballing, but it'd be one thing if she was like a villain or an anti-hero or flawed, and she realizes something about herself and grows and mature. No, there's none of that. No. It's just yes, queen fucking cultural horseshit. I mean, and again, I'm just projecting, but that's pretty much the impression I've got.
No, that's exactly it. Real quick, that's exactly it. That's the whole, like, you don't have to change. You're there's nothing wrong with you. It's society that has to change. It's the men in your life that are bad, not you. You just keep doing exactly what you're doing.
This show is made just so they can grab clips of it and put it on Twitter. They made an entire show just to do that, so that they can have some form of validation. But like Rob brings up a good point about like the characters have no principles. And as a principled libertarian, that's my biggest criticism of leftist retards, is that they have no principles at all. That's my criticism to most of society. People want to act like they're for this or that, but they never stand on any principles whatsoever. And this is just another example of that. And I mean, this is a failure. Stop making shows and movies for people that don't fucking exist.
That would be a great strategy.
I would like to also add on that diversity is not a strength when you require a team of good writers and nobody is a good writer, and you didn't want to bring one on because you would feel bad for being a bad writer then.
After the first episode, I think even before the first episode, Jessica Gao admitted that they didn't have a writing staff capable of writing a legal comedy. They admitted that they could not write a legal comedy, and they're doing She-Hulk Attorney at Law. Go ahead, Pete.
Thank you. For my sins, I have watched this show. I've seen every episode.
I'm sorry.
And it is fantastic. It is unique in so many special ways. When people, in the future, they look back, they're like, what was going on with culture and film and TV back in the 2020s? They're going to look at this. This thing is like, you put it in the ground, you cover it up, you pull it up, time capsule. It's a time capsule. It's just incredible. It shows so many things that have gone wrong and are emblematic of what is happening in our popular culture. That this is could have been a high profile thing, and it got high profile money. That the people that they hired had little passion for it and only wanted to undermine. That the MCU, which it was and technically still is the biggest film franchise ever, could allow itself to fall so low. That you have some very smart people. One of the writers for this, she got in trouble 2 years back. I think that was when people first got an inkling that maybe something was up. Dana Schwartz, who has written all these books about history and runs a pretty decent history podcast, smart lady. She wrote the dumbest episode this season, which was the one where She-Hulk gets mad because Tatiana has put out a trademark perfume with her name. And it's just like, what is happening? It's like kind of like what we saw with comics, but most people don't pay attention to comics. That there are a ridiculous amount of Marvel fans, and I think this was a tremendous misfire. And this isn't my observation, but this is something your boy Zach, Richard, I can't think of his name right now. But you guys know what I'm talking about. Yeah, Richard Meyer. He made this good observation. He says, what kind of organization do you devote your major project? In the last episode, you devote to making fun of your boss. What does that say about the confidence that is in this company? What does that say about the projects going forward? And what does that say about Kevin Feige's ability to steer this ship? Phase 4 is really bad. It makes me even wonder if we are going to get to Phase 6, because it's crazy town over there. This is so tremendously unentertaining. It's so bad. The only positive I could take away was that there was like one action scene with Daredevil that's slightly enjoyable, and then these episodes are 30 minutes or less, and there's such little happening in almost all the episodes. Like the plots, like I swear, half this episode runtime for about every episode is about her dating some guy, and then she's mad about it for some reason. So you can read on your phone. I was like checking my Twitter, Facebook. It was great. It was like, man, I can multitask. And it didn't matter because it was just a giant incompetent waste of time. And I think the MCU, when people go, because this is something that the people like in the media, like the entertainment journalists like to say, like, you can't say, that there's an agenda here. You can't say that there are all these problems, that they only hate all the men or all the nerds. They could try to say that now. I mean, go ahead, but I'm not sure if anyone that watched this is going to believe it. I heard from my sister, who is a super lefty, and even she was like, "What is happening here?" So I think it's incredible. It's one of those things. I know there's a number of them going on right now, whether it's the stuff with Rooster Teeth or G4 TV. The She-Hulk's another one. It's just like,
here's just real quick. I'm at the point now where it's like I'm far beyond like getting mad at the creators of a show like this. Like Jessica Guy's a fucking idiot, but anyone with a brain can figure that out. Who's hiring these people? That should be the real question, because anyone with a brain can see that this woman is completely incompetent and completely incapable of being in charge of a show like this. She's a child. Like the way that she talks about Kevin Feige in these interviews where she's talking about, oh, I really want to get this little joke. Like, you're 40 years old. You're a fucking child. Who put you in charge of this? And you have to get, well, that's the failure of Kevin Feige, because like I said, he's like, who makes fun of their boss in the last episode? Who hires the person who makes fun of their boss in the final episode of a Disney Plus show? Like it's coming from the top.
Well, I mean, what I'm puzzled again is you create a show that is hostile to a fan base, and you're not appealing to people who are probably not going to watch your show. I don't know of all these what do you call them, wine moms and all these
dog moms and wine aunts and
I don't. I mean, aren't they
sisters?
Aren't they busy watching the Hallmark Channel and all those movies? I don't know who are you appealing to. And I've said this more than once. Who is your target audience for these projects? Who really is your target audience? Are you creating this show just to vent your frustration and anger at people who really are not that important? Or are you trying to create a show that will draw viewers, draw fans, add to the overall mythos of the Marvel universe? What is I hate using this word. What is your end game for all of
Beat me to it.
Yes, what is a literal end game to try for?
I tell you this much. We've talked about this. Culture Casino and Tom Connors talked about this earlier today on their show. Right now, the projections for Black Panther 2 is about $225 million. Now, I think that is a well overshooting what this film is likely to make. But that's what they're expecting out of this film as of right now. We're still got a few weeks left, so those projections can go down. But they're expecting $225 million opening weekend for this film at the moment. No. If that film does nowhere close to those projections, it comes close to like even losing money or just breaking even, just kind of like Thor did, there's going to be a lot of serious questions about the direction of the MCU and basically Marvel in general moving forward, because Kevin Feige already came out and basically said, hey guys, we're ending phase 4. Here's phase 5 and phase 6. They were supposed to start in, I guess, phase 4 with Ant-Man, and I guess all these plans came out and it's gone blown up on their face one after another. They're just fast forwarding straight to the next thing. It's like, hey guys, we got another Avengers movie in 5 years. Kang is showing up, guys. Aren't you guys excited? Like, they know that the overall enthusiasm of this whole thing is dwindling. Shit like this is not going to help. It's just not. And if you go out there and Black Panther 2 Wakanda Forever, which doesn't even have Black Panther in the movie, it's just about his female co-stars. If that movie doesn't do to expectations, they're going to have a serious conversation about what's the direction of this thing moving forward. And guess what? Shows like She-Hulk, where you're just making fun of just males in general, that's not going to help your bottom line at the end of the day either.
No, I'd be willing to bet money, by the way, with anybody here, that Black Panther completely fails expectation. Not completely, but it's not going to make $200 million opening weekend. It's just not.
I was just going to add real quick that you don't need to wait till Black Panther. Look at Andor. Andor, review-wise, doing fantastic. And not in a cynical way, like I said earlier. Like, actually fantastic. People love it. But the ratings aren't great. And people are like, how could this happen? Why aren't people watching? Well, it's because you blew all your trust with them. You dangled like, oh, we're gonna do a Boba Fett show, and then you're like, oh no, you don't get it. And you can only do that so many times, and people are like, I'm not falling for it this time, Disney. You can't get me this time, and they just don't show up. I mean, before people like complain and get on Twitter and talk about everything being broken and falling apart, they just say no. They just walk away and they do something else. And I think that's what's happening.
Well, the other thing I gotta wonder is there is a civil war going on between Kevin Feige and Disney, the activists at Disney, because he does
I
not seem
mean,
happy about with what's happening, and he had to move the phases a lot faster than he wanted to. So have to wonder what war is going on behind the scenes.
Well, I mean,
let
the
me
face. I'm sorry.
Stop.
just a real quick question, and if Spencer's still listening in the chat, or Josh, one of you two, maybe you guys could look into this. I know Jessica Gao has mentioned Kevin Feige's name numerous times throughout the course of this show. Like, she's constantly bringing his name up in the media. Has Kevin Feige said anything regarding this show at all? Because I'm thinking to myself, all of the references to Kevin Feige throughout this entire thing has come from Jessica Gao and nobody else. Is he even endorsing this shit at this point? I don't know if there's been any like recent statements or anything like that, but I don't even know if he's completely on board with this right now. And then she just keeps bringing up his name over and over again, and I'm not sure how happy he is about that too. So
why would you? But here's the thing: why? If you're a Hollywood producer like Kevin Feige is, right, and he's involved with the MCU, why would you want to be associated with something as small as a Disney Plus streaming show? You know what I mean? Even if it was good, but even if it was
all
good,
interconnected.
I know. No. I understand that, but this is my problem with the MCU: is that it's like it thinks that what niche is interesting. Like, we're going to carry on this incredibly small story and characters and connect it, not constantly, but connect it here and there. And it's a very minuscule, lacking substance sort of orientation to go with. And I just don't get it. I don't understand why you would busy yourself with this other than lots and lots of money.
Well, I presume because you're having these TV shows are essentially trailers and fillers for the next episode of the world's longest and most expensive soap opera, where you have to watch them to try to follow the plot of a movie. And I mean, I had a hard enough time trying to figure out, was it in the last Spider-Man movie, who these other people were that Jake Gyllenhaal was ranting on about. And, oh, Tony Stark screwed you 5 years ago. I'm going, I have no idea who you are. What are you talking about? By the way, I've hated every Spider-Man movie with Tom Holland. But I kind of forgot the point I was trying to make. Oh, geez. Well,
the idea that you have to watch all this crap to follow what's going on. However, they're hiring writers and directors who clearly have not watched any of the prior product up to this point. So it's like, if your writers of the show aren't even following canon, then why the hell should any of the fans be forced to watch this shit to figure out what's going on either?
Well, you can have a well, I was thinking back that I think was it Mario Puzo had no real idea of Superman when he was working on the first Christopher Reeve Superman, but he commented of, I see this as a great tragedy. A man who's lost his world and has to start his life over here in this other world and try to find his way to being who he is. So he took that idea and used it, and I don't know if he had other people helping him try to figure out the character, but then it's Mario Puzo who was writing, who was co-writing this, who was writing the first Superman. It's not someone like Gao. I'm sure there's a difference between Mario Puzo and I'm assuming Jennifer Gao. But I remembered my point. We looked at Phase 4, Season 4 of the world's longest and most expensive soap opera. It has been the most diverse in terms of both in front and behind the camera. We've had an Asian American woman write She-Hulk. We have had an Asian woman direct Eternals. We had our first openly gay superhero, our first deaf superhero. We've had a first Muslim American female superhero. We had a bisexual Latinx.
Is any of it good? Is any of it good?
I'm getting to that. I'm getting to that point, Robert.
I had a feeling he might be going there, but
yes,
I held back.
It's called the setup, Rob.
It's a really long
Patience
setup.
is a virtue. It is a virtue, my son.
We've moved on to TikTok. There is no patience.
But I would say, are these films going to be as even beloved or as well crafted as
It
all these
shows.
others? As anything that,
Rick,
that came in phase 1 and
you
phase 2?
set that up just to say it in the most mundane way.
Yeah.
Look,
Well,
let me
it's because,
speak
it's
for
because
Rick.
somebody threw me off my
I'm speaking
groove.
for Rick, okay? We've
Somebody
had
threw
the
me off
most
my groove.
diverse set of films and television, and guess what? It's the shittiest phase of the MCU. It is absolute dog shit. It is schlock. I avoid it like the fucking plague. And honestly, I'm so sick and tired of hearing about the next piece of shit that Marvel is touting out, if it be Marvel or fucking Star Wars. It's like when one is not going on destroying our childhood, the other one's going on destroying our childhood. It's the most diverse and yet the most shit in quality.
It feeds into a certain group's addiction. I mean, you look at the people. I was amazed.
People are
at the
addicted
people,
to shit.
I was amazed at the people who when one of the Marvel movies, might have been Eternals, might have been something else, that they camped out for days to watch every single Marvel movie in either chronological order based on the story or based on release. And these are the same people who will not sit through something like Lawrence of Arabia or Gone with the Wind because it's, quote, too long to watch those. And I'm thinking, you spent days in a theater and you can't be bothered to watch Gone with the Wind because it's just too long at over 2.5 hours. You binge watch.
Yeah, Iron Man
They-
isn't punching
no.
anyone in those movies.
You have to understand, these people are even dumber than that. Their response to like asking them, "Oh, why not watch Gone with the Wind?" They'll say, "Oh, it's too old."
It's
That's
racist too.
It's too boring.
It's too old.
Oh, yeah,
that's
that too,
literally
Rob.
their response to stuff like that.
Citizen
If
Kane's in black and white. We can't watch that because it's in
if it's
color.
in black and white, guess what? They're like, "Oh no, I don't want to watch that old shit." And then, like, how does one respond to such an ignorant response? There's just no, like, when people say that, it's just like, okay, clearly we're never gonna be friends because you will ignore some of the greatest pieces of film ever just because it's quote unquote too old. You're fucking ignorant, and I cannot be friends with you.
Well, I think Jacob and I know someone well beloved for us, our mutual friend, who did declare, what was it, Endgame to be one of the greatest films
He
ever
went
made.
as far to say that Robert Downey Jr. should be nominated for an Oscar for his performance in Endgame.
I don't know if he was also the same person that wanted Kevin Feige to get an honorary Oscar for like lifetime achievement, like a special award, and maybe these are the same people who also wanted the best popular film award, because that's how much we're going to dumb down all of this. But that's what it is. I mean, these people ultimately just wanted to make a show that trashed not even the fans, but their perception of fans. Then it was just a waste, and nobody's going to watch it 5 years from now, or maybe 2 years from now. They're not going to go back to it. I can go back to at least the first two Christopher Reeve Superman movies, and I kind of have a fondness for 3, but I know it's bad. But I'm not going to watch. I've not watched any of the Marvel movies since they came out. I mean, they're entertaining, but you know what? They are a theme ride. They are a theme ride. Marty was right again.
Well, is there? Yeah, let's go ahead and get the final thoughts on this one, because we're going on to our closer here, and there's a lot of the same veins with our closer. But go ahead, Cassie.
Yeah. No, I was just gonna say that I'm not surprised by someone saying that RDJ should be nominated for an Oscar for his performance in Endgame. Some moron on Twitter tried to tell me that the first Venom movie is a masterpiece, and it's just like how much of a stupid human being are you to say something so ignorant, something so like brain dead? It boggles my mind. It has stuck with me for like years. That's literally like how much of a reaction my brain cells were exploding. But Shit. I was gonna say something else, but
Yeah, see, we're talking
Yeah.
about the same people that wanted Black Panther to get Best Picture.
yeah.
And
I
it
mean,
got
the-
nominated.
It shouldn't.
But the thing also with like the OG Superman movies and films of the past, even some of the older superhero films, is that the people involved were actually likable. Like I want to go revisit the original Superman, the first two Superman movies, because I liked those people that portrayed those characters. I look
They
back on them fondly.
You see, the difference is that they took the premise seriously. And even
Yeah.
though it was kind of outlandish, when you think about it, they took the premise seriously, and they never tried to mock it or wink at the audience. They played it straight. Christopher Reeve
Mm.
played it as both characters, and he did a good job. And just a side note, I love the Toby, at least the first two Tobey Maguire films, because again, they took the premise seriously. They gave you people that you like, that you related to. With all of these, there's no one that's going to relate to She-Hulk, and no one's going to end up liking her. I can't even remember any of the characters from Eternals. So despite now having a deaf black female superhero, which would represent a small percent of the population. There's nothing wrong with having a deaf superhero. There's nothing wrong with having a black superhero. There's nothing wrong with having a female superhero.
Right.
But if you're going to create a deaf black female superhero just to have a deaf black female superhero, who are you really appealing to? I'm continuously perplexed by their idea.
But then you got Wesley Snipes too in Blade. That's still influential, and people love him.
And apparently, the new Blade, the director left because the failure of the film sucks and the actor's unhappy. So everything's just going well at Marvel right now. Everything's going well and fine for everyone. There's going to be great content for years to come. So let's move on to our closer here, because this is something that literally, as we're doing this show, is still unfolding right now. If you guys hadn't heard, G4 is dead officially. This dead for this time. Now, this is something, you gotta go back a little bit here. G4 originally started back in the early 2000s, back in like the outlaw days of digital cable, where people were still like, oh my god, there's thousands of channels, I'll never get bored of stuff to watch. And that lasted maybe about 2 or 3 years, so people got bored. And they were supposed to be the video game channel for gamers by gamers. They bought Tech TV back in like 2004, 2005. They basically took all their good shit and kept it G4. They were popular for a little while towards the late 2000s, but as quickly as they became popular, they died very quickly afterwards. DirecTV pulled them off the air back in 2010, so that was pretty much the death knell for them. 2 years later, they were done. And then about 10 years later, NBC, Universal, Comcast, whatever you want to call them, they decide, hey, you know what? Let's bring back G4. Let's bring back Attack of the Show. And let's bring back X-Play and all these other shows that people loved from the early 2000s. Well, they brought it back. It lasted about 7 weeks. And one personality decided that it would be a great time 7 weeks into the reboot to say, hey, you know what? Let's talk about sexism in gaming. And the network died at that very moment it was done. They've been dragging their feet about this for the last few months, but they can no longer do it anymore. They announced, I guess it kind of leaked, but it's official. G4 is officially dead less than 1 year after its revival. After Frosk went on the show on X-Play, did her whole rant about if you don't like it, don't watch it. Shocker, people didn't watch it. I'm pretty sure you guys have heard about the rant by now. It's on YouTube and Twitter and all these other places. It's been known for months now. People have been talking about it for months. That was kind of the death rattle of this whole thing. Over the course of the last few months, people have been getting slowly laid off and slowly laid off, slowly laid off. Now we're at the point that, nope, we're just going to shut the doors. It's absolutely done. A couple days ago, it was announced that effective immediately, G4 is no longer existing. As you know, G4 was reintroduced last year to tap into the popularity of gaming. This is David Scott, telecom giant for Spectre. He says that We created, I said we were invested to create a new G4 as an online and television destination for fans to be entertained, inspired, and connect with gaming content. Clearly, they didn't do that. Over the past several months, we worked hard to generate interest in G4, but the viewership is low. The network has not achieved the sustainable financial results. Said this is certainly not what we hoped for. As a result, we made a very difficult decision to discontinue G4's operations effective immediately. I know this is disappointing news. I'm disappointed. I want to thank you and everyone at G4 for your hard work and commitment to the network. So everyone's been fired, right? And there's a couple of notes about this. Some people apparently only found out about this when this newsletter hit. And so a lot of people found out essentially on Twitter that they no longer have a job, which kind of sucks. I mean, even though I don't typically like a lot of these people, it does kind of suck to find out on the internet you've been fired from a job. But since then, there's been one G4 person who keeps in mind just got fired, by the way, after another who is coming out, and they're all lashing out at the fans for criticizing G4, for bringing up everything that's happened with G4 over the last few months. Frosk came out and made a statement saying that, well, Comcast was completely supportive of her rant. They could back her 100%. So people blaming her, it's unfair to blame her because, they completely backed her. Adam Sessler, who has just gone completely off the deep end, even before they brought him back for this one, he's now challenging fans to like fist fight. I think there was an article that just got posted on Bounding. I'm gonna check that out here in a second. Then you have messages from these people. Let me bounce off into this little tweet right here. Let's see if I can pull this up for a second. Yeah, let me pull this back up here and take a look at this. So Melanie Mack, who a lot of people know on YouTube, she has a pretty big following there right now.
Eats butter.
Their
favorite food's butter.
Yes, yeah. Probably shouldn't do that, but yeah. They said Melanie Mack says we all saw this coming a mile away. It's just sad that some genuine people excited about gaming lost their dream job because someone attacked their audience and the network supported it. I hope the good eggs can bounce back from this and the industry can learn a big lesson here. So here was a comment replying to that one. Now, this is Joshua Miller. Now, keep in mind, he is the former lead video editor of the G4 network, who was one of the guys who just lost his job. And he responds to that tweet by saying, keep our names out of your mouth. None of us want your well wishes or pity. You're an idiot if you think a single person can tank a multi-million-dollar business. And what Frost did was courageous and well-intentioned, unlike the venom you spout behind your good Christian veneer. So these are people who just got fired because, hey, we tried to bring back this thing and gain a fan base, and you guys fucked it up within 7 weeks. And instead of coming to any kind of acknowledgement that, hey, maybe that wasn't a good idea for the sake of the fan base, for the sake of our channel, for the sake of our jobs, every single one of these people right now are on Twitter actively as we speak, doubling down and tripling down on the same stuff that made it so that no one wanted to watch this thing in the first place. Pete, you did a whole thing about G4. You've been covering this for a while. I don't know if you're like a long time like G4 guy like I was. I remember when G4 like very first started, so I remember the ups and the downs, everything that happened with this network. I knew that this thing wasn't going to work even before she opened her mouth because they never addressed the elephant in the room. How are you going to build an audience on something that no one wanted to watch 12 years ago? And they never came up with a good answer for it, and here we are. So what's your take on this? I'll let everybody else go after you.
There's so much to say, so it's hard to pin down.
Yeah, there's a lot to go off of here. There's so many moving parts.
It's just a giant wall of bad. I think the narrative that people are saying that Frosk, and people are saying this, I think they're just trying to be nice. But Frosk, it didn't take one person to kill it. That's partially correct, but it's also wrong. Like, she was like the final blow, right? Game theory in boxing, it's not just the last punch that takes you out, but it's every punch before that. And I think that's true with Frost, but that definitely was. You can look at the traffic, you look at Social Blade. They were having steady, slow growth. Now, would that have worked with the overhead and issues they had? Probably not, but that definitively, that meant the end. And the company knows it. That's why they erased all history of it that they could on their social media, on their YouTube and Twitch. They're like, What speech? We don't know what you're talking about. It's why, in about less than 2 months later, they were bringing on Amouranth and VTubers, and they were just like, so I guess maybe they were thinking it was like, well, if this is what the man haters want, they just want hot women to come out and jiggle their stuff. Like they had this really just vague idea of what G4 TV was, and I think coming away that is the large lesson. I think, and we just posted about this today on Bleeding Fool, who have been helping me on this project. It's pretty sure what you're hearing from everyone, even people that liked the place, the executives had no freaking idea what they were doing. They did not understand the property. They didn't really care for it. Many of them were kind of leeching off it. The guy that really made this happen, the son of this of the Comcast chairman, Tucker Roberts, he was kind of supposed to be in charge of this thing, and he mishandled it greatly. For example, speaking of big internet female personalities, Olivia Munn. People have asked this from the beginning. Where's Olivia Munn? She was like the most popular person on that channel. Yeah. Well, apparently they had paid her. They had paid her 7 figures. Now, I don't know how many in the 7 figures, but it was 7 figures. And the contract was there. She signed it. She was supposed to show up. She never did. And Comcast, to my knowledge, never did anything to fix that.
Oh, boy.
And it's
terrible.
You can just go down the list. If you guys want to get really deep into it, you can check out Bounty Comics has done great stuff. You can look up my stuff about Frosk on Bleeding Fool. I'm a little gloating because I predicted a full collapse for many people in the media who were more supportive of this venture, more hopeful. When I said, yeah, it's going to die. It's going to die. The question really was when. I was told, and the impression the people I talked to was that middle management felt that it was going to, we're going to get this thing out at least past Christmas. No one, and I've checked in with my sources that did work with me, not a soul saw this coming. It was just not yesterday, the day before. They came into work, they tried to get into their Google Drives, check Slack, check their work computers. They were out. They're like, what is going on? And then later that afternoon, they didn't get like a call from their boss. They didn't get like, oh, by the way, time to start looking for new work. No, they found out on Twitter. And that included their hosts, Gerard, the completionist, Gina Darling. These were their top people. These are like their big stars. Usually the big stars, they get treated better. Not so at G4 TV. It's incredible. It's incredible. I'll end here. I'm extremely looking forward to, as the days pass, we're already seeing some of it. As the tea gets spilled more and more, we will be given the vicissitudes, the great plethora, the huge feast of Schadenfreude, as we all see how awful G4 TV and its new guys was. And everyone that said so was correct. And everyone that wanted to pretend it wasn't were wrong. And I'm gloating a little bit, but I feel like we deserve it a little, just a little.
Yeah, and just a real quick on what you said there. It is something that Spencer mentioned in the chat too. It's like, yeah, it's really unprofessional when you fire someone and don't even have the balls to at least call them on the phone or tell them to their face that they got fired. It's like, that's bad as well. But on the flip side here, let's just be honest. There's a lot of insufferable people who worked at G4. Now, you can say, well, who hired these people? And that would be the fault of NBC, Universal, and Comcast for hiring these people in the first place. But I can also see a scenario where people like Adam Sessler and Frosk and that douchebag who I just talked about, brought up his tweet there, that they're just so insufferable. They're like, you know what? Just tell them in an elite email that they no longer have a job here so we can just save time and just be done with it. I can see that, totally see that happening as well. Like, none of these people are making themselves look any better now, especially now that it's official that these guys are done. Now everyone's trying to like spurg out on Twitter by saying that it's not my fault this whole thing died, it's your fault. It's like, okay, double down and see how well it's going to work out for you. Any other thoughts on G4? Cassie, were you ever a big fan of G4? You're the gamer here, so.
Yeah, I used to watch G4. I remember when they had remember they used to have like sports competitions. That show, no one talks about that show. It was hosted by, I forget what the dude. He was like a black dude. He was mad chill. He was like a good host. Nobody talks about that show, but I had fun watching that show.
I thought you were talking about Arena there for a second.
No, it was like this dude would literally go to like people's houses and they would have like competitions and like sports games. It was pretty cool. But
I'm surprised you guys didn't bring up Code Monkeys, which is
yes.
But actually, the creators of Code Monkeys started a Kickstarter not too long ago because they are doing a new show and it got fully funded so fast. So that's coming.
Mm.
Good for them.
Like, but I think the key highlight to specifically the tweet that you were showing with the response to Melanie Mack, it's like your retarded fucking political like ideology is what essentially threw your company off a fucking cliff. So clearly you didn't really learn anything. You know, it's like these are the type of people that are going to go on to do another project and it's their stupidity that's going to kill it. So like these people, it's just like failure is going to follow them because they refuse to put their religious, their non-theistic ideology that they absolutely worship, like the fucking weirdos that they are. They can't put that aside even for work. And then when it falls to the ground and crumbles, it's like, woe is me, it's everyone else. And it's like, you know, you're the consistent factor in all of this failure, you dumb fuck. Like,
Yep.
it's just, I can't help but laugh at these people. They deserve no sympathy.
I really have no dog in this fight because I don't think G4 ever had like the Qbert show that, you know, something that I could follow and understand. But again, what I see is a company that didn't understand its target audience and apparently did not care about its target audience, and instead decided to revive a property that has a certain name recognition with gamers, and decided that what they were going to do is just trash them, and again show contempt for the people that they're trying to draw in. It's the same thing as with She-Hulk. You have a group of people that just seem to hate the people that they're trying to target and try to draw in. I personally feel bad for anyone who went into the Revive G4 and went in with a sincere desire to revive something that they hoped would appeal to gamers and that they could build on and they start their careers and kind of contribute to the community and the industry that they love. They've just lost their jobs. I've been on that side where I've lost my job. It's not a fun experience, and to learn about it not through a letter, not through a meeting, but through a tweet, that's worse because some of these people who are behind the scenes, they deserve much better. They deserve to have been treated much better by people who are going to have golden parachutes and are not going to be affected. I feel for them, and I feel for any of the people who went into the Revive G4 from the viewer side with an eagerness and a willingness to say, you know what, we have something that we hoped that would come back. It has come back. Let's see, we can build on it. Instead, you have all of these people who are treating their audience with contempt, dismissal, even downright hatred. And now a lot of people have lost their jobs because of their pettiness, and I feel for them. That's my 2 cents, because again, I don't have any real knowledge of gaming, as you guys know, so I'm kind of not completely following a lot of the G4 drama. But I will say it might make a good miniseries to see, you know, to see all the backstabbing and bitch slapping that's going on around here. So that's it. That's it for me.
The last time the G4 was relevant to me was when I was getting my first apartment and I decided to get a cable package with like the extra channels, and along with Fuse TV, which I was really into at the time.
Yeah.
G4, it's just like all these other channels that either don't exist or have been bought up by other companies or whatever. But I think they just shit the bed because they either didn't understand the business they were getting into, or the blowback was so severe from, that rant that it just rendered it, non-feasible as a business. But I remember the Olivia Mondays. I remember, I don't know, was Chris Hardwick on that network?
Yeah, he was on the show too.
Yeah.
Oh,
so I remember the guys with the spike. There was him, and then another guy,
Kevin Pereira.
Yeah. So I remember that those were relatively charismatic people. They were entertaining to watch. And it would be things like, oh, hey, I discovered this thing. I never knew about this game, because I have always been not very savvy when it comes to video games. I'm kind of a dummy. Like I need help to get through a lot of games sometimes. So
you could outplay me.
But I like video games. I haven't played in a couple years. So, but yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I would love to see Rob and Rick go at it in Pac-Man. Who can get the highest score?
Well, I could follow along the Pac-Man cartoon, and then there was a Pac-Man board game. I could do those. If we do the board game,
we should force both of you guys to just play like Tekken 7 with no prep whatsoever and just go for like an hour.
That would be so sad. That would be so freaking abysmal.
Does button mashing work? Because I'm good at that.
It does, but even so, it just isn't at all satisfying.
Or even worse, make them play like Dark Souls. It's like really
I tried to play Halo once, and all I ended up doing was just spinning my little character around because I couldn't figure out how to get out of the room.
I mean, I grew up with video games. Like I grew up with consoles. I love going to the arcade. So I mean, I definitely have. It's just, I haven't played video games in 5 years because I after Red Dead Redemption 2, I was like, I'm good.
But again, I think as much fun as a lot of us seem to be having and enjoying the Schadenfreude of the fall of this, again, I go back to the people who genuinely went into this with the best of intentions and now have lost their jobs because of other people's mismanagement. I feel for them.
My thoughts on the whole thing, if I may. G4 is basically a gaming podcast or a gaming company podcast where they talk about games, right? Yeah. Well, when they revived and had a person just come on and just start spouting that games are sexist and there's sexism in gaming and all of that nonsense, what Frosk did, essentially, that completely doomed it. Because, one, you now created a division in gaming. You basically said there are aspects of gaming, something that this entire company is built on talking about, and you are saying that it is wrong. You are putting a bad label on it. And, well, you have gamers, lots of gamers, who are going to look at you and say, who the fuck made you the Ranger or the Texas Ranger of gaming? Who the hell made you the person or put you in charge of dictating what is appropriate and what is not appropriate? You coming out and spouting all this nonsense is what turned people off. Now, yes, not one person is responsible for the failure of G4. Frosk, however, was a humongous detriment to their company because she drove so many people away from it. Now, there are other people behind the scenes. I saw a little bit of a Twitter thing going on between Ryan Kinnell and somebody else, one of the employees there, who's like, Frosk was so brave that she said what she said. It's like, yeah, but still, she's the one who put your company at risk. And now your company is completely dead in the water because you all decided, well, maybe we should jump into identity politics and jump into political nonsense and all of that other woke bullshit. And look what happened. Get woke, go broke. It's not just a thing that people are saying because you're stupid or you went broke. It's literally a warning to people that if you start pushing this nonsense where it doesn't belong, you're going to drown your product and it's not going to come back.
It's like these people have no business sense whatsoever. These are just unqualified people who are hired by these major corporations, and they just see it as a paycheck and an opportunity to push their their politics on a big platform, because not one person was like, look, even if you agreed with what she said, is like, this is not the platform to do it on, because hey, you may alienate some of our audience members and we could end up losing our jobs in the future. Not one person is thinking like that. They're thinking, oh, of course what she said was brave. And the problem is with you, if you didn't agree with what we said, it's like, you don't understand, like, people are not going to sit back and just willfully watch lectures. Like, people are not going to be talked down to on television, whether it's the internet shows, television shows, movies. People do not want to waste their time and money to get lectured by a bunch of Hollywood assholes like the ones that are constantly being hired by these major corporations all across Hollywood at this point. People are just not going to do it, and they can't get that through their fucking heads.
Well, I mean, you go back. I mean, not going. I mean, so G4. You look at what's happened at ESPN. They're doing the exact same thing. They're insisting on bringing their politics into coverage, into sports coverage. Yeah. And so what happens? People are going away from ESPN, and it's no longer considered a sports network. And all you're doing again is you are antagonizing the people that you're trying to appeal. If these people think that their job is to try to convert you to the right side of history and to try to enlighten you, the same thing that they do with all these stars and actors, directors, trying to convince you of the rightness of their views. That's not what people go to see. That's not what people go to see in G4. That's not what people go to see in ESPN or all of these films. And they're just not learning, and that's why they keep failing, because people will reject them. Even if I agreed with some of the things that were said about, that were about sexism in gaming or whatever, we need to worship Colin Kaepernick or whatever you want. Even if I agreed with that, I'm still not going to go to your show or your network to be lectured. I'm not there. I'm there to learn about gaming. If I'm watching G4 or watch or get the latest news or information or programming devoted to the gaming. ESPN. Also, I'm there to watch the sports or watch sports analysts. I'm not there to be told how to think, how to vote, what to believe. Those are my ideas about what I believe and what I think. And if you're not going to respect that, I'm free to leave, and I will. You'll lose me, you'll lose others, and as we saw with G4, you'll lose an entire network. And again, people will lose their jobs needlessly.
Well, remember what Frost said on what, if you guys saw it on her Twitter? She said that it was all about fixing the past.
A reckoning.
That's what the statement said. It was that diversity inclusion was what it was built on, to fix the past. I was like, what? Everyone on her Twitter, like everyone that replied to her Twitter was like, what are you talking about? Fix the past.
Would it be okay if I jump in? I know I've talked a lot.
Go ahead.
This is the craziest thing covering this. When I started, I'll admit maybe I had a little bit of less than Christ-like feelings towards Frost, because G4 TV, like Society, it was something I had loved in the past, when I was in high school. It was something I really enjoyed with my friends. So I was a little frustrated. Covering it, talking to people, I really have almost only but sympathy for Frost. I think she came in and she bought into what she was being told by leadership. She was told, diversity is part of the centerpiece of our company. We really mean it. We're gonna be a better. She heard all these things that every major company they say, but much of the time, it's like recyclables. It's like, yes, you should mix out your clears and your plastics from your cans and your glass. But they don't act. No one actually believes you do it, right? It's something you say because you have to say it. But she bought into it. I would not be surprised. Maybe she has a learning disability or something where she just really did not seem to understand the situation. Even Adam Sessler, who is being very vitriolic right now, you can kind of understand why he's so frustrated. He upended his life to do this. He dedicated himself. Yes, he is the worst Twitter personality there ever was, but it's a little understandable. I think what I take away most of all, if there is a sin that was fatal, it was Comcast leadership. They never understood the property from the beginning. This is the same thing with She-Hulk, and I would guarantee that most of the time when you see these properties and they decide to attack fans and make it about politics, it's more about they don't actually know what they're talking about than it is just the politics alone, and the politics make for great cover. Comcast just didn't understand what they had. They wanted to turn to an esports platform. They didn't really have a plan to do that. It was more like that old Simpson, where it's like step one, bring G4 TV back as esports platform. Step 2, question mark. Step 3, make lots of money. They had no idea how to bridge that gap, and they did not understand that the reason why people liked G4 TV was it was the everyman program, and it was a time when you were a nerd where you felt a little bit isolated, and here was something that was welcoming you. You would go, it was so cool. This is how it used to be, and I feel like younger people who are into geek culture who came into it during the culture wars, they don't really get this. But it used to be, if you were a fan of Doctor Who or you were a Trekkie or whatever, you go to a convention, you'd see other ones. It was awesome. It was like, these people are so similar to me. We have similar interests. Who we voted for never came up. There was no really discussion about social politics. It was just like, oh, you're another nerd. That's cool. And that was G4 TV. That was that era. Kevin Pereira, Olivia Munn, even Adam Sessler and his co-host, Morgan Webb, they were welcoming characters. That's what G4 TV was. And Comcast did not understand that. And they so bungled this. This is my favorite story in the mainstream press from all of this. It came out yesterday from the Independent. And they actually went and they looked at the Nielsen ratings. They're like, okay, so how many people actually are watching the channel? Remember, airtime is extremely expensive. Even though fewer people that never actually watch TV, it's still very pricey. Here is what Comcast was getting for all its money. The average daily viewers for the entire day, okay, this isn't prime time. This is the morning. This isn't like mid-afternoon where you don't get a lot of viewers. The entire day was 1,000. It was by far the lowest watched channel in all of cable and extended. That's how bad of a screw-up this was. And as much as I am frustrated with Frosk or anyone else, the people who really messed this up is Comcast themselves. And I mean, man, if I'm one of these employees, I have nothing but the worst feelings and wishes for Comcast leadership right now. All right.
Well, I'll take it one step further than that, because talk about Comcast screwing this whole thing up. They've arguably been screwing this whole thing up since 2004. Remember when they bought Tech TV? And here's the thing with Attack of the Show and X-Play, most people don't even realize those were both Tech TV shows. They weren't even G4 originals. X-Play was a ZD TV show, went to Tech TV, and then they bought it over with the merger. And then Attack of the Show was a rebranded version of Screensavers, which is another Tech TV show. So those are those have been the two flagship shows for like the last 15 years for G4. When they bought Tech TV and they merged it to G4 Tech TV, they had all these people from San Francisco, which is the Tech TV people, then their LA people at G4. They had kind of like a super brand here where you have the best of gaming and the best of technology. You have like one big nerd outlet for like stuff like that, entertainment, culture, things of that nature. They fired everyone from the Tech TV side within less than a year. I think it was like 8.5 months. Fired everybody. Martin Sargent, who used to do the Unscrew of Martin Sargent, talked about this, how Comcast made everyone move from San Francisco to LA to be a part of the merger, fired everyone within 8 months. They had to go back to San Francisco, screwed them over back there. And then they decided that after they got rid of Tech TV that we were just going to be the next Spike TV at the time. And we're just going to be the channel for males 18 to 34. So here's all these syndicated shows that aren't even G4 originals, to the point where it just became nothing but cops and cheaters. And then that became a running joke. Like every time you would turn on G4, it'd be like reruns of cops every single day. So they've been screwing this thing up since 2004. And like I said, the question was from 12 years ago, how are you going to revive something that nobody watched back then? And no one decided to go into a writing room and ask that question. How are we going to bring people back when they gave up on this 12 years ago?
I will say this, okay, because so Comcast is the one whose failure this is, right? Comcast owns NBC Universal. Okay, NBC, and this is my biggest problem with the media landscape right now, is that, what is it now? 5 companies? 5 companies own 93% of the media in this country. It's like that alone is a problem. And it's like, look at the up and down year Universal had at the box office. Bros, Halloween Ends, what they had, I guess they had Jurassic World Dominion. They had Jordan Peele's movie Nope. I mean, it's like they have all these, they're in the headlines, they're being talked about, but it's like their business model is so up and down, and it's like their focus is all over the place because they're trying to control as much as possible. And I feel like when that happens, maybe G4 is independent of that. Maybe they were always going to fail. because the climate and video games have changed all of that. But it just seems like it's indicative of the larger media landscape and it being almost practically a monopoly.
Yeah, so I mean, it's a dumpster fire. Like I said, I have a story that'll hopefully be out with Bounding in the Comics tomorrow, which talks a lot about this. I go into kind of just like the in-depth struggles that G4 has been having for years, and bringing back certain people that they did certainly didn't help things. There's far more likable personalities associated with G4 they could have brought back outside of Adam Sessler. You could have brought back Morgan Webb. You could have brought back Kirsten Adams. You could have brought back Allison Hayslip. You could have done some kind of deal with Chris Hardwick at Nerdist. I mean, there's so many other people who you've cut. Shut up. There's so many other people who you could have brought up that you didn't. You brought back the guy who's probably the most unlikable right now, who is associated with that G4 brand, and then you hired Frosk, who already had issues with other platforms that she'd been at. It's like you can see this thing failing from a mile away, and somehow the only people who didn't see it were Comcast. Like it's amazing at this point. So, any final thoughts on this story before we wrap things up?
Let's finish burying it.
Yeah, no, it's just G4 is dead for the second time in a decade, and hopefully they don't try to bring it back for the third time. This shit's never going to work, especially with the people you guys keep attaching to this.
G4 is the Halloween of the of networks. You think you killed it, and it just comes back.
No, it's not the Halloween of the networks, because at least G4 was actually good at one point. So I'll let it.
You can make the argument that's the Sharknado of networks.
Yeah, that can definitely. Well, no, because even Sharknado was probably more likable than G4 was in their regions. Yeah,
I remember they would try the weirdest things in the off hours to put on G4. It was like, this is like where NBC's television went to die. So like there was Japanese game shows like Bonsai.
Those were awesome.
That's what in fact American Ninja Warrior became popular because they had Ninja War on reruns on G4. There was this one show, there was no point to it. It was like a reality show competition between brothers, but they would just try to demolish houses and cars and stuff, but only with their hands. No, like great artistic value whatsoever. That show was amazing.
No, it was like the dying days of the original G4 was pure trash TV. Like it was peak trash TV. That you compared to what stuff's being written now, I'd rather have the trash TV than the shit that we get these days.
It was like authentic trash. I mean, today's trash is kind of like let's see how weird and morally indecent we can make this trash.
Today's trash is She-Hulk. That's today's trash.
Today's trash look like pink gold.
Let's go burn it then, please.
Who remembers Blind Date? I don't know if it was on G4, but
that's
peak trash TV.
G4. It was like on UPN, I think.
That's right.
Yeah.
I think trash would have been like Cheaters.
I love Cheaters so much.
Oh my god! Yeah. There's on Pluto TV. I've been seeing ads for this because I watch Pluto TV over cable. They have a Cheaters channel that just went live on Pluto TV.
Oh god! I tried to convince people. Yeah, I tried to convince people that it was a Christian show about fidelity, but nobody believed me.
ECW and
no, do you remember the episode where the host Joey Greco got stabbed?
Yes, I love that because
fantastic.
And the EMTs were so nice. Like, all right, you just got stabbed. And the way they were telling him, it's like
you just got nicked, you pussy.
Okay, but they always found a host that came off as like a sex offender, like a creepy, like greased back hair guy in a black leather jacket.
They somehow managed to get Clark Gable's grandson.
They did.
Yes,
it's crazy.
Really?
Yes.
Is that dude dead now?
Yes, I think he has passed. I'm sorry to say, but it was bizarre because I'm your host, Clark Gable. I'm going, what? What do you mean?
Exactly. He really would say that. They show reruns of that on Sun cable channel that my parents catch like every Saturday or Sunday, and every time I'm going to get breakfast, I'm just dying to leave.
Well, it's either that or a Hallmark movie, Cass. I mean, you really
Oh,
don't have very much
oh no,
choice there.
no! You want to know what pure trash TV is? That is Jerry Springer. That is
Yep.
pure trash TV.
Maury too. I think Jerry Springer and Maury are two gems I grew up with.
Remember Jenny Jones? Remember when she was a thing?
Jenny Jones, Sally Jesse Raphael.
Sally Jesse Raphael.
Ricky Lake.
Yep. So,
All right. Well, this is what they took from us. This is when
This
we
is
were
what they
proper.
took
All right, guys. Let's go ahead and wrap this up. This is a great discussion we had tonight. A lot of fiery topics that made us all mad. Gave us great conversation. So this is the time where I let you guys promote your stuff coming up. I'm gonna start off with Johnson here. He's gonna get the spotlight to start off the show. So go ahead.
Hey, yes, last week I had to cop out because I had to do some damage control with stuff. So, but anyway, I've got some nice stuff coming up, and this is a big one. I put the Kickstarter in the chat. It's my superhero fantasy novels are getting a nice updated cover, and unlike She-Hulk writers, you know, I can write women really well. And this series, by the way, is 10 years old, so I don't know what they're complaining about men hating women as superheroes.
Yep.
I've had some really nice reviews on these. So, yep. All
right.
Yep.
Oh.
Buy it. Nope, that's it. Just buy it.
All right. Let's hop over to our good buddy Rick, all the way from Texas. Where can they find more of you, Rick?
I'm still at Rick's Texan Reviews or Rick's Cafe Texan, and I'm finally working my way through the reviews. By the way, I just got the copies of the first two original Halloween films, so I will be finally catching up so I can see what I missed from the Citizen Kane of Halloween films, which was Halloween Ends. And yeah, just just keep writing my reviews, forcing myself to write the comparisons between the Blonde miniseries and movie, between two Anastasias, and looking for. Well, I don't want to say looking forward to Black Adam, but looking forward to seeing if maybe maybe I will actually like it. That's pretty much it. That's it. There's nothing really big other than that the Phillies won. So that's my news.
Yeah, that blows ass.
God.
Yeah. Well, let's just jump over to the California side of things, Miss Nerdigans.
So, right after this, I'm actually going to be recording a live reaction for Four Nights of the Apocalypse, which unfortunately came out while the stream was going. But a new article for Bounding just came up in regards to Pokemon being base as hell for proving the LGBT community wrong. Yeah, keep your headcanon to yourself and don't force it on people. I have an article that I'm working on where, Trigun Stampede decided to go for kids on Wolfwood, which is not good. I am not happy with that. But as usual, I got more content coming in regards to manga and anime. And tomorrow we're going to be here talking about Rocco's Modern Life. So stay tuned.
I can't wait for that one. Talking about the GOAT show. Rocco's tomorrow. Mr. Orange Hat, you're up next.
Well, I'm Orange Hat Reviews. You can find me on my channel, Orange Hat Reviews. I do mystery reviews. I just got done doing The Right earlier today. And for October, I'm doing horror movies. The next week is going to be the last one. The hint is a true horror that frightened generations. This Friday coming up, I'm going to be doing a live review for Black Adam when I get home from the theater. And I also do guest choice reviews where if a person wants to come onto my channel, they get to choose the time, the date, and the movie. This month, I'm requesting that anybody who does want to choose a horror movie or a monster movie or something, preferably one that people or that the person enjoys. And other than that, I'm covering the controversies of Hollywood and a little bit of politics here and there. And other than that, you can also catch me on Twitter at VolanOHR. So, yeah, that's about me.
All right, let's move over to the most comfy man in America right now, Mr. Rob Motto.
Oh yeah, I've been comfy the last 2+ hours over here. Very, very toasty. Yeah, hi guys. So I did change my YouTube handle today to my Twitter handle, Rob Motto Movies, so it's easier to find on YouTube. I have 4 videos up from the past 2 years. So I am going to be doing regular videos, hopefully soon. That's all I can really. That's all I can muster right now. But I need to rewatch Blonde and do an extensive review on it since it's my favorite movie of the year now, and I got to get that out. So other than watching horror movies the rest of the month, that's kind of what I'm focused on and looking forward to. So I just want the Phillies to lose because they shouldn't even be here. As a Braves fan, but they beat Atlanta fair and square. What can I say? They had really good hitting and they had really good pitching in that final game, and that was it.
Yeah, they won tonight's game. I'm not very happy about it. Like I said, no joy needs to be had for the city of Philadelphia whatsoever.
Oh, yeah, and I'm from Pennsylvania. I hate Philadelphia fans specifically. The Philadelphia Eagles have the worst fans in all of sports. Those people are barbaric animals.
The entire city of Philadelphia is exactly the same. It doesn't matter if you're talking about the Flyers, the Phillies, the Eagles. They're all trash.
I mean, they have to put Crisco on the street poles to make sure that people don't climb up them.
Oh my god! It had to be fucking Crisco all day.
That told me this. Yes,
I'm
serious.
Real quick, Philadelphia sucks so bad. Always Sunny in Philadelphia shoots in L.A. That's all I have to say.
A Philly cheesesteak is only good when you're completely drunk at 2 a.m. and you need something salty to shove in your mouth. Just remember that.
Only if you make it yourself.
A Philly cheesesteak, not like you can get a cheesesteak anywhere and it could be made well. But yeah, those fucking food carts on the street, it's like it's unseasoned beef with like gross onions and
cheese whiz.
No,
I'm a meatball. I'm a meatball guy myself, personally.
What an interesting life you have led, Robert.
Well, hopefully our buddy Pete here isn't from Philadelphia because we just completely buried that city for the last 2 minutes. What do you got coming up, Pete?
I'm not much of an expert on Philadelphia. I know Ben Franklin came there. I know one time they hit Santa during a football game. That's about it. Yeah, just working on writing, trying to get back into media reviews and stuff. The G4 stuff was a throw for loop because like we're back to this already. It just happened so quickly, so that's kind of threw off everything. But yeah, getting back to getting some reviews done, writing. I'm writing a thing about Velma. Working on some podcast projects, this and that. If you want to check out my most recent article, it's with Bleeding Fool. No plans, no help. Frosk strikes back after G4 TV implosion. Thanks for having me on the show. I really enjoyed it tonight.
Good to have you. And last and certainly least, the Jets fan, Miss Classic Cage. Let everyone know where they can find you.
I don't know why you keep shitting on my team because my team is doing better than a lot of the other teams right now. Let's be real now, with no offensive line, mind you. So
it's only a matter of time before they jets it up. So I say enjoy it now. Enjoy it now. Like,
well, I've always said that their name should be the goddamn Jets, not just simply the Jets.
Oh yeah,
specifically how they're spoken of. But yeah. Follow me over on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube. I'm like 100 subs away from hitting 1,000. So that's the goal, to get to 1,000. So I'm happy about that. Today just not for me. Likely I curse too much and I do all the things YouTube thinks is bad. So good luck. But I'll just call them sexist or some shit. That seems to be all young people do nowadays, right?
And racist.
So, yeah, racist. Half racist, mind you, and sexist, and yeah, all that shit. But yeah, I just uploaded a video today talking about the whole Bayonetta video game situation, and that is a rabbit hole. I'm interested to see what more comes out about that. So yeah.
Did
Could
you
I
have a
ask
question
a
there?
question about that? Where do you guys fall on that? Do you believe the voice actress more, Helena Taylor, or are you leaning towards Platinum Games? Do you guys have a feel for
Taylor
that
is
yet?
lying. I have already gone down that rabbit hole. She is
Yeah,
lying.
it seems
Hold on.
as though for the most part, like the money situation is false. Like she said that they offered her $4,000. It seems as though that's only for one of 5 sessions. So she did not disclose that. So on that front, yeah, she was definitely not being truthful.
Hold on a
And-
second. Are you guys implying that a white woman lied? Is that what you're implying here on this show?
But yeah, the thing is also Platinum and Nintendo have said nothing, but what we do know comes from people that seem to have not direct knowledge. So it seems as though it's kind of BS, which is sad because I really do value Helena Taylor's work as Bayonetta. To me, she will always be the Bayonetta voice actress because of how well she brought that character to life. And it sucks that she went out on kind of classless way. It's weird because it's like the crazy thing is she fucked with Nintendo. Anybody who knows anything does not fuck with Nintendo. Like, she's under NDA and put out all these lies. Nintendo's probably, and I hope not, and it's all alleged, probably gonna make her disappear.
Okay, she clearly doesn't have the money to fight him in court, so it's maybe not a smart move on her part. Let's put it that way.
Too much.
And let's wrap it up here, telling you guys what we got coming up. Tomorrow, Nerdigans, TW, hopefully a couple other people will be on, because tomorrow we're talking about the greatest Nicktoon of all time. Yes, I'm calling it that. We're talking about Rocco's Modern Life. This is a show that it's so twisted and so screwed up and had so many things that you just couldn't believe they got away with in the children's show. We have to talk about that one tomorrow. And then, of course, immediately following that show, I'll be on the Black Pill stream with myself, Josh, Spencer. John was here a little bit earlier, so all 3 of those knuckleheads will join me tomorrow night show. I'm pretty sure we'll talk about G4, and we'll talk a little bit about She-Hulk as well, along with a couple other stories we got coming on. As far as the writing part, like I said, I got the G4 story coming up, and I'm thinking about another one as well, but I'm still trying to catch up, because I got like 4 movie reviews that I haven't even finished yet. I haven't even finished the written review of Halloween Ends yet, so I'm way behind as far as those goes. Next Monday, we'll be back here. We'll be talking about Black Adam, The Rock's latest DC movie, which is already starting to fall expectations as far as box office goes right now. So they're already starting to slip that film, and the reviews are out. They're not particularly great either. So, and then of course next week, episode 21 of the Barroom Podcast. Our podcast is now old enough to drink. So episode 21 will be next week. You'll see all of these lovely people back here next week for our show. But we're at the end of the road here. It's getting late, so let's go ahead and wrap this up. Hopefully I can see most of you guys tomorrow when we talk about Rocco's Modern Life. That's at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Until then, I will see you guys later. Good night, everyone. Everyone wave to the camera. Say bye to the audience.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye.
I'm waving.
We're not we're not leaving until Johnson does it too.
Oh my god.
Good night, everybody.